When your whole life is dedicated to running the fade, and you spend every minute of it practicing boxing with the dream of being a world champion, only to be stabbed by your no-good bros in the Yakuza. Even God has pity to reincarnate you into the world where throwing hands is the only way to free yourself from slavery. That's what happened to our boy, a boxing fanatic backstabbed by his fellow gangsters, only to be reincarnated in a world where boxing is everything, and the losers are sent to the mines to slave away and never see the sun again. Will our boy be able to fulfill his dream of becoming a boxing champion, or will he suffer a fate worse than his past life? The city shines beautifully, but in a dark, desolate corner, a group of gangsters has surrounded a bruised and broken man. The man huffs in exhaustion, a cigarette in his hand and despair in his eyes. This man is Kang, who curses the heavens because it hurts like hell. One of them decides to give him time to smoke his cigarette as a last act of kindness before breaking his bones. He manages to light the cigarette and take a deep drag. One of them, who has a completely cooked hairline, tells the others to send his brother off with a clean shot so that he doesn't suffer anymore. The bald one apologizes while bringing his blade out. Kang just spits in his face. He knows all too well that he's acting on orders. In his last moments, he reflects on his life. It was short, full of anger and despair. Even so, he was still attached to it. The only thing keeping him going was boxing. It meant everything to him. He had all the cards to reach the pinnacle: height, punching power, and star potential. He recalls getting into the ring, his blood flowing and his eyes calculating every move. In high school, he was called the boxing prodigy. Too bad he couldn't control himself, and in a fit of rage, things turned ugly, and he was jumped by gangsters. He was beaten until his arms were broken in multiple places. That's when he was told that he could never box again. Now he wonders if there could have been another way he could have made a comeback, or at least if there was a way to make a living as a boxer. He decides that it's useless to regret now. The glint of steel poking through his chest brings an end to his existence. He grits his teeth in frustration because his life was nothing but a roller coaster of anger, despair, and disappointment. With blood pouring out of his mouth, he yells that if he had one more chance, just one more, as the light dims from his eyes, he thinks that he wants to box one more time. In a distant land, a voice tells Callie to wake up, wondering if the useless brat is really dead. Voices call out to Callie. Some of them are panicking. They run away, leaving a bruised and broken boy with blonde hair and a will-o'-the-wisp frame to his fate. His lifeless eyes shine for a moment, and he gasps deeply. He looks at his frail hands, much different from his previously beefy hands. He remembers being stabbed, and he definitely remembers his name being anything but Callie. Just who is this? A few days later, a man tells a row of boys that losers of the match will go to the mines, and if they manage to win in the August Boxing Apprentice School tournament, then they get to leave, or else it's the mines for them. This is an instructor of the camp who tells them to listen closely because he will be assigning them in pairs. As he starts assigning all of the brawny candidates to the scrawny ones, Callie is teamed up against the biggest and baddest of them all, Slit. Slit looks like the kind of guy who has gorillas for parents. The instructor explains that the match will start in a week. Till then, they need to train like hell. All of the brawny and well-built candidates just chuckle while the scrawny ones have pale faces, already believing in their lives in the mines. Callie looks at them defiantly. He knows that the instructor looks at them and thinks they are inferior and mine fodder. The mine is a dangerous place where many die from accidents or lung disease. The environment is worse even than his last life, and he must avoid going there at all costs. A voice calls out to him. The instructor tells him to follow. He needs to talk to him privately. The other kids are burning with envy, wondering why this weak-ass kid gets special treatment. He's a jerk who can't even keep up with training. A few feet away, the instructor sits in front of Callie, revealing that he wants to submit his name to the owner for discharge. Callie wonders why. He also notices how calm he is. He's not a boxer with this weak-ass built. The way he's built, he would get a cramp while fighting a paper bag. It's the same for the mines. He'll die there as well. With a body like this, death will come for him in less than a year. The instructor crosses his beefy arms, revealing that he recommends that the owner sell him to a different master. Callie surprisingly shakes his head. He wants to run the fade in a week. The instructor looks at him in surprise. Is he really Callie? If he were the usual crybaby, he would be sobbing right now. What the instructor doesn't know is that this isn't Callie but a former boxing rising star. Callie yells that he will definitely become a boxer, and the look in his eyes brings a smile to the instructor's face. If that's the case, he won't say anything else. But if he changes his mind, he's free to let him know. As he leaves, he wonders if this is really Callie. Callie looks at the reflection in the pond. Recently, he was a gangster named Kang, who lived on Earth, but right now he's got his second chance at boxing, as a boy named Callie. He looks at his arms, and they're scrawnier than a paper straw. With a frail body like this, and the stamina of a fat guy at Walmart, he can't make his dream come true. He also realizes that his growth spurt is late, and his punches are weak. It seems that Callie has been bullied all his life, and it must be because of his frail body. He wonders why he gets his second chance with a body like this. A voice calls out to him, It's Slit and the gang, who are cracking their knuckles and looking at him as if he's the last slab of meat on a Black Friday sale. He's punched senseless over and over again by Slit. He yells that he's never liked this bastard, and the instructor gives him special treatment, so that's a problem. He also brags about his father being a champion. He should just die for being a weak bastard. Even though it's Callie who is punched over and over again, he gets up no matter what. He also wonders how pathetic the owner of this body was. Slit likes his toys to be extra durable. He vows to give him a full-face makeover in a week. Callie just grins, telling Fatty that he'll be dragged to the mines to lose some fat with exercise. This infuriates Fatty, and he throws a punch. Callie looks at the devastating blow moving towards him. The huge fist and the power behind it will make it impossible to get up. But surprisingly, something weird happens. The fist starts moving slowly as if traveling through jelly. Callie looks at it and manages to dodge it in the nick of time. Even he can't believe how he managed to dodge it. Slit refuses to back off and throws another punch. He looks at the punch and feels as if it's moving in slow motion. He manages to dodge it again and again, zigzagging to close the distance between them. He notices that his chest is wide open and delivers a punch to the solar plexus. Everyone gasps in surprise. They weren't expecting their target to fight back. Slit grabs him by the hem of his shirt, hoisting it up and yelling that he's a weakling. Callie gasps in surprise before being punched senseless. He lies there, and the bully who noticed him before looks at him one last time before leaving. Surprisingly, instead of crying, Callie bursts out laughing. The reason why he laughs, even though he's been reincarnated into the body of a stickman, is because he still has something from his last night. His godly eye-hand coordination and reflexes. He grabs a handful of sand and lets it fall. The grains look like they're falling slowly. His eye-hand coordination is so amazing that he can see each grain of sand as it falls. He can follow its movements, and with godly reflexes like that, he can dodge any punch that comes his way. He gets up and dusts himself, realizing that he is not going to the mines anytime soon, for he will win. He will survive, and he will make his dream come true. 20 years ago, there was a revolt by armored gladiators. It was a tough situation, and regular troops couldn't put up with it. The kingdom, which had barely suppressed the rebellion, had to abolish the slave gladiator system. The king then proposed a new system that gave birth to what are called fighters. The fight includes destroying an opponent with only their fists, and it gives the audience pleasure while saving the fighter's life. That's how Kali found out about fighters in this world, and moreover, with this kind of body, he is destined to be one of those who are destroyed. He huffs in exhaustion, his whole body screaming in pain as he runs laps around the ground. He manages to keep up with the rest of the candidates. It makes it easy for him to get destroyed, being so weak. A fellow candidate tells Kali that he should rest if he is exhausted, but Kali refuses to back down. It's now or never. Whatever he needs to do, he must survive. In this hellish place, if he doesn't have the strength, he will be sent off to the slaughterhouse. A voice tells them to stop any sighs of relief. He remembers being able to run better, even when he was drunk or smoking in his last life. The instructor is speechless. The kid who always fell behind is now in the middle of the pack. He regrets letting him go. If only he had been this way from the start. The instructor wonders what happened to him. He hears a boy talking about Kali and how he is so different after being beaten up, senseless. Another boy chimes in that he is acting strangely after getting his head hurt. The instructor asks them what they mean by Kali and his head injury. They weren't expecting the instructor to join their conversation. The instructor learns that Kali was beaten up by another group and left to die. One of them apologetically says that he was beaten harder than usual. Another one joins in, saying he thought he was dead because he was bleeding everywhere. The instructor strokes his chin. Is it because he felt the breath of death that he has changed? He decides to wait a little longer and see. He tells the candidates to run 50 more laps, and they comply. Afternoon training is hellish as well. They are using logs as free weights and pushing their bodies to the very limit. This is the kind of place Goku would love. Kali looks at the other candidates. He knows that everyone is working hard to avoid going to the mine, so he must put in the elbow grease as well. He continues to punch the stuffing out of straw figures. He decides to work as hard as he can, and continues to punch the figures. The training is not effective. He remembers punching Fatty in the solar plexus, and it was a little more annoying than a mosquito bite. It's impossible to deal damage with a body like this, but what he can do is target the jaw. To be more precise, at the very edge of the jaw. The jaw is the only part that can cause great damage because it shakes the skull. What he needs to do is lure them in with a feint and make them fall and aim perfectly for the jaw. One of the veterans asks Kali what in the world he is doing. Kali points out that he is just in the middle of training. The veteran scolds him. Why is he not training like the other guys at the training camp? Kali replies that can't they train in different ways? The veteran is ready to give them another beating of a lifetime. He yells at Kali that they were boxers before he was even born. How dare he ignore their training method? He knows that this world favors slugger boxing type. He remembers seeing it in his last life, taking blows head-on and turning it into a full-on fist fight. It's the same as heavyweight in his world, and he used to train with the style, but right now his body can't keep up. The instructor yells at Callie to go pick a log and repeat it again and again. Someone puts his hand on his shoulder. It's the instructor who asks Callie if he is learning this training from his father. Callie nods, and he decides to let him train that way since it's the champion's style. They will let it pass. Callie bows respectfully and leaves. He knows that Cavaron is a champion, but he is no boxer. The instructor wonders if he taught Callie any other training methods, and he also thinks that Callie must have changed after his close encounter with death because he feels different. He looks at Callie practicing his Kai uppercut on the straw figure. The sun starts to dip, and Callie leans against a tree stump. After a day of hard training, he is swamped. He can't handle it because of how weak he is and how hungry he is. He decides to eat something sweet, and just then he looks up to see the tree he's leaning on heavy with fruit. Jackpot. He starts picking apples and chomping on them with relish. He enjoys every bite and feels truly alive. Just then, a voice asks what in the world he is doing. He nearly chokes on the apple. He looks at a beauty with red hair and porcelain skin, looking up at him. On first glance, he realizes that this must be nobility. He stutters, and the girl tells him to pick an apple for her and come down. As he gets down, he runs towards the beauty, handing her the apple. She takes a bite and tells him that he has done a good job. She also recognizes him as a slave in the training camp. He nods. She wonders if he doesn't know that this garden is owned by a noble family, and if he is caught, he'll be punished. Callie looks genuinely surprised. He really didn't know, and if he gets hurt, he won't be able to compete. Surprisingly, the girl laughs. It seems that he doesn't know who she is. She introduces herself as Azalea Agist. Her father is the Baron, and he is Callie's master. She then asks for his name, and he promptly replies. She decides to pretend that she didn't see anything, because he also picked an apple for her. Her face hardens, and she tells Callie that if he steals again, she will swing the whip herself. She then tells him to get back to the camp before anyone else sees him. He runs away and sighs in relief because that was too close for his liking. Azalea runs her hand through her hair. She notices how small Callie is, and he looks weak for a boxing slave. She looks at the apple in her hand and wonders about him as he leaves. Callie is practicing his furious punch technique. He is shadow boxing without breaking a sweat. Slit, while carrying his logs, realizes that Callie has changed. Everyone's eyes are on him and his mysterious training. He remembers the day Callie fought back and punched his stomach. He is starting to worry that if it continues, it will be his end. He throws the log over his shoulder in anger. He looks around, wondering why the instructors are not here to stop Callie and his mysterious training. One of them replies that the masters have called them and they have left. Slit smirks with no one here to break them apart. He can test his opponent in peace. He will have to show them who is the boss. This fat gorilla decides to show everyone how strong he is by picking on the weakest of the bunch. As he is going for Callie's head, ready to smash him into the ground, Callie dodges, whirls around, clenches his fist, and is about to strike his chin with everything he's got. He stops inches away from the musclehead's chin. He gasps in surprise and apologizes, saying that he was so focused on training that he didn't notice. He starts worrying for Slit, asking if he hit his face. Slit has seen death in the face. He's sweating profusely and strikes his chin, telling Callie that he's fine. Callie smiles, telling him that that's a relief. A murderous gleam shines in his eyes as he tells Slit that he shouldn't get hurt before their match. Slit trembles from head to toe. How can this one-punch snack have balls of steel? Callie just smiles, telling Slit to go back to what he was doing before their encounter. He also calls Slit a bastard in his mind. When he was in the gang, he saw his share of guys like him who would like to beat others to get the high ground. He leaves Slit trembling and in need of a new pair of pants. The fighter who observed Callie's transformation is busy training. He also realizes it's not a coincidence. He looks at Slit, gritting his teeth, and probably planning his funeral. He points out that he looks pale and is worried. Slit starts yapping, asking what he's talking about. He is actually lucky to have a wimp like Callie as his opponent, and nothing could be better than this, but deep in his heart, he knows that something has changed. When the fighter remarks that Callie has changed, usually he would just whine and annoy them, and they would beat him up. But lately, he's grown into a whole new person. He remembers the look in Callie's eyes, the determination that could take down a bear. He tells Slit not to be careless, and not to let his guard down. Slit starts sweating and panicking. Even Torres is paying attention to Callie. Torres realizes that Slit is about to piss his pants. He tries to lighten the mood by slapping him on the shoulder and telling him to get a grip. He should just send the trash to the mind. Slit laughs, although a little uneasily. That's what he needs to do, and that's what he will do. Back at the Baron's mansion, the Baron cocks his head, looking at the list and the matches that are prepared. The instructor explains that they have started living in the training facility. Godolph, the baron of this estate, remarks that this guy named Torres is the promised one. Now isn't he? The instructor replies that he has a good balance of strength and agility. He's also pretty aggressive and skilled. With the right guidance, he could become the next champion. Godolph is looking forward to seeing Torres's rise to fame. He also wants the instructor to do something else. The training facility is at the bottom of the barrel, and they've been struggling with finances. That's why they have to send half of their slaves to the mines. So he wants to invite the commoners to watch the match, and so he can raise money. Commoners miss watching boxing out in the open, so maybe they'll like it. He wants to make sure that the match is worth spectating. The instructor smiles. He realizes what he needs to do. He also thinks of his master as an incompetent rich kid. The reason why the training career's reputation is falling is because of this fat slab of lard. It's because of his greed. Godolph Baron has been running the training center for 15 years. For the first 5 years, he was able to maintain it with the boxers he inherited from his forefathers. A group of burly men who could take down an ox in a single blow. But for the next 10 years, he forced them to fight too much, and they died out. Some of them were disabled. Some of them were hurt beyond the point of recovery. The August territory is barren and has little farmland. So he kept his family running with the training center's income. But now it's not enough. If only he hadn't sent young boxers to the kingdom's boxing tournament 2 years ago. The instructor remembers his promising students vowing to win, only to end up as bloody confetti on the training grounds. He holds resentment for his master. If only he hadn't sent his best students to their death in early graves. The training center would have had a chance to rise again. A delicate voice calls out to the Baron, saying she wants to see as well. Can she have a seat as well? Azalea has joined the fray, and the Baron wonders why. Didn't she say that she hated it as it's barbaric? Azalea just smiles. After all, watching something barbaric is fine too. The instructor is shaken. It's too stimulating for a young woman like her, but she just smirks. Stimulation means fun, and she is all for it. The Baron laughs, and Azalea is not interested in the fights like that. What she wants to see is how that boy fights. The day of the match arrives, and the arena is packed with spectators. Azalea slowly wraps the bandages around his hands. He enters the ring and realizes that the time has come to make his debut in the new world he has been reincarnated in. A muscular hand rises to the sky, and the spectators go wild, cheering Torres' name. Torres just smiles. The referee announces him as the victor, as his opponent lies in a pool of his own blood, destined for a life in the mines. The Baron looks at Torres, and he is pleased with how the instructor has raised him into a champion in just 1 year. Then the instructor bows his head. Next up, Slit and Kali are going head to head. Azalea notices how everyone is tall and muscular, and the kid called Kali is less of a boy and more of a skeleton. How can he become a fighter with a frame like that? The instructor remarks that a fighter's physique is the deciding factor, but physics is also related to strength. There's still a way to turn the tide of battle. Surprisingly, only this man has fate in Kali. As he faces 105 pounds of pure muscle, Slit tries to talk Kali into surrendering and ensuring that he ends up in the mines. He tries to reason with Kali that he won't get hurt if he forfeits. Kali claps back that if his ability is half as good as his mouth, maybe he can become a champion, though internally he's a bit uneasy. He knew that this was going to happen, but he couldn't find a place to hit him. The most serious thing that sets them apart is their physique. He won't be able to deal any damage if he hits his torso with these frail marshmallow fists. What he needs to do is put the weight behind his punch and aim for the jaw. To do this, he needs 2 things. First of all, he needs to provoke Slit into attacking first and lose all reasoning. Sure enough, the big buffoon launches towards Kali, punching the air next to his face. Kali crouches below as he needs his upper body to bend down. Sure enough, the fat oaf takes the charge, bending and punching wildly while Kali is on the defensive, calling Kali a small rodent for running away. How dare he spoil their fight? But that's all part of the plan. He wants Slit to be provoked by the crowd. Slit has indeed lost all of his stamina, and he wonders why Kali is fine. He calls Kali a small bastard, telling him to crawl into a hole and die. But Kali has been waiting for this punch. It's simple. He's made sure that Slit keeps on attacking him over and over again while he dodges effortlessly. That's why he lost all of his stamina quicker, as he's been on the offensive while Kali has been on the defensive. Secondly, when he loses his guard and is about to take a step back, that's when he strikes. With a gleam in his eyes, he launches his fist towards Slit, ready to hit his jaw. But surprisingly, Slit grabs his shoulder. He yells that that's cheating and receives a devastating liver punch, enough to crack his ribs and threaten to end the match. Kali clenches his torso. It hurts like hell, and the crowd cheers. Kali curses them even though they know that he's cheating. He grabs him with all of his fingers, not his gloves. Even the referee starts counting down. He never thought that this would happen. He scowls, sweat drips down his face, and he wonders what he should do. The countdown is getting closer. He curses and yells at his body to stand up just this once. The countdown has reached 3. In only 2 seconds, he will be destined for a life in the mines. His ribs are broken, but not his spirit. Unsteadily, he gets on his feet, and the veteran is surprised. Can he even fight? He asks. What he doesn't know is that in this small frame, the spirit of a seasoned boxer resides. He has already died once, and he will claw his way out of hell if it means survival. Slit yells at the little rat. He'll make sure that he regrets getting up. Callie's ribs are already broken, and he can't move freely anymore. Slit brandishes his fists and is about to make his face into a Picasso painting. Now that it's turned out like this, he'll have to do everything he has to throw him off balance. Callie decides to intercept the blow with his forehead, yelling at the top of his lungs as Slit withdraws his arm. Surprisingly, his knuckles are bleeding. He takes advantage of the surprise attack to launch another blow. Slit tries to punch him again, but he's too slow for Callie. Callie zooms under his fist, ready to avoid it, and now he's gotten the chance he's been waiting for. The gangster inside of him tells Callie that this is his chance. He brandishes his fist and strikes Slit's chin with all his might. He continues with the sky uppercut for a good minute. Slit seems unfazed, with only a bruise around his chin. He wonders if one of his silly little punches could really harm him, but in the next moment, he starts to lose consciousness. He faints, and the referee starts counting down. It reaches 1, and the veteran deems Callie the winner. He waves the red flag, and the spectators are looking around in bewilderment. This is absolutely crazy. How can a skinny boy win against a muscle hound? While clenching his bruised ribs, he looks at the crowd, realizing that he's alive. He won't let his second chance at life go to waste. He raises his fist and basks in their glory. A week later, the slave traders have arrived, and half of the apprentices have been sent to the mine, including Slit. With a blank expression on his face, he is the only muscular guy escorted into the cage, and the only exception among the inferior students was Callie. Callie is escorted to the Great Manor. Now there are a little over 10 people left in the training ground, and the training center is quiet. At the mansion, the instructor tells Callie that his restraints will be released when he returns to the training center. He looks around and notices how grand it is. It's his first time being somewhere so nice. The instructor asks Callie how his body is doing. He looks at his ribs, telling the instructor that he is fine. He also wonders why the lady called for him. The instructor answers that she is a little interested in him after his last match. Azalea is waiting in her room with a spot of tea and a basket of apples. She is glad to meet Callie again. Callie is a little disturbed. He doesn't want to be suspected of that again. Azalea tells the instructor to wait outside while she chats. She tells Callie to sit beside her, but he refuses since he is a slave. He also wonders why she called for him. She notices how impatient he is and tosses him an apple. He should have a snack while they talk. Callie starts scarfing down the apple, and she just looks at him with admiration. She called for him because she had something to ask, and he must know that slaves have no right to refuse. Callie is finding it hard to see what she really wants. She remarks that he was amazing in his last match, and with what he did with those thin arms, it should be a world record. It was a one-hit KO. Her father says that it's out of luck, but she knows better. Callie realizes that she is smart and quick. Indeed, Slit's punch was a coincidence, but he shook his head. He further explains that if one hits the chain accurately with their fist, the head will shake and hit the cranium. It will cause the opponent to lose control of their body. That only happens when there's enough force behind the punch. Azalea realizes that he aimed and attacked. She smiles and hopes to see Callie reach even greater heights in the future. She tells him to keep winning and become a professional boxer, and if he becomes a champion, maybe he will become a free person. As the instructor escorts him out of the manor, which on closer inspection is falling apart with cracks and fissures everywhere, Callie looks at his wrists. As he takes off his shackles, he wonders if he wants to be a free person. After all, he lives for the game. During afternoon training time, Torres is busy training his head off. His only goal is to achieve freedom, and that's why he trains until he passes out. Right now, he has the physique of a Greek god. He remembers his instructor telling him to grow strong. If he didn't have the chance, he wouldn't have been picked from the farmland. The instructor told him that he has a natural physique and fighting spirit, so he needs to become a champion and a free person. With only one goal in his mind, he continues to push himself. A log crashes into the ground. A voice yells that he hates it. Torres hates guys like Callie, who do pathetic things every day without a goal. But suddenly he has changed. He beat Slit and survived, an outcome no one could have predicted. He doesn't know what happened, but it's clear that he is different. A voice wonders why Callie is acting up, and maybe they should teach him a lesson. Because of the cowardly bastard, Slit has been sent to the mines. A crackhead fighter tells Torres that they should go beat up Callie like usual. This is Mantis, one of the candidates from the Baron's training arena. Torres doesn't want to beat up that weakling anymore. If he wants to change himself, he won't get in his way. He was just annoyed by his constant begging, but now he has changed. Speaking of Callie, he is busy training. With his ribs completely healed, he can finally get back to training. He has even gained a little muscle. A voice calls out to Callie as a shadow looms over him. It looks like he is out training. Callie had been wondering when this comeback would show up. Mantis cracks his knuckles. He is a good foot taller than Callie, but Callie doesn't care and tells him to get away if he doesn't want to get hurt. Mantis just mirrors, promising to go easy on Callie, but Callie repeats that he will get hurt if he keeps messing around. The look on his face could have sent any sensible guy off, but this crackhead doesn't get the clue and brandishes his fist. He swings it without any technique, and Callie dodges. He continues to dodge and hits the stupid boy in the chin. He must have thought that he won by pure luck. It's a good thing that he had hands to spare. He looks at Mantis, realizing that they are soft boys raised on a training ground, while he is a seasoned veteran, a gangster who died in the embrace of cold steel. Guys with tall height and overwhelming reach are hard to fight. It's like facing someone who fights with a spear. He remembers a boxer with long arms beating the snot out of his opponent. Strong jabs and punches that don't allow any approach make the opponent very hard to defeat. It's an absolute advantage, but Mantis can't use it well. He has large movement and a bent swing, unable to take advantage of his reach. Mantis swings his arms around widely. His technique is sloppy, and his eyes are full of rage and hubris. Callie goes for another punch across the face. Without the proper technique, Mantis is just a big punching bag. He decides to keep attacking Mantis, and not to let him have any room to breathe. He continues to punch and keep the pressure on. The two lackeys accompanying Mantis jump in, telling Callie not to act up. Callie manages to evade their blows. This gives Mantis enough room to breathe and catch his breath. He tells Callie not to be cocky. The punch that he got in was only by chance. He curses Mantis. Now he is using numbers since he couldn't go blow for blow. Mantis is infuriated and swings again. Callie manages to dodge but is kicked by another boy in the back. Callie realizes that with no self-esteem of their own, they have to bully others to maintain it. He crashes on the ground and looks at them ganging up on him. He remembers standing in their shoes. He remembers leading two gangsters while he bullied the weak. Maybe this is karma from his last life. A voice says that he can't stand it anymore. Torres has finally gotten up. He tells Mantis that now he is trying to jump Callie, and if he wanted to do that, he should have gone for it. But how dare he make a fool out of himself after losing in a one-on-one fight? Mantis is a little shaken. Is Torres on Callie's side? Torres clears the air that he is not on anyone's side, but he is annoyed by a bastard who has to jump a weak-ass kid after he was beaten up. Mantis is about to blow a nerve. He hears that he wasn't beaten, he just lowered his guard. Torres tells him to fight one-on-one again, and he will be the referee. Mantis wasn't expecting this, but he tells Callie to bring it on. This is the moment Callie had been waiting for. His eyes blazed with unspoken fury. It's enough to make his opponent's face pale. Mantis is forced to wonder if this kid is really Callie. He swings wildly again, but Callie dodges. To him, it's just a slow punch. It's better if this snot-nosed kid mails him the punch by post. It's also strange that this guy can't dodge his own punches. Callie unleashes a barrage of punches on the kid's side. Mantis yells, telling him to shut up, but he notices how wasteful he is with his movements. He is only showing his weaknesses and not his strengths. Callie decides to teach him on the fly. After all, pain is the best instructor there is in boxing. He delivers the finishing blow, and Mantis looks around in a daze before collapsing. Torres notices how he looks like an experienced boxer. His father was a champion, so he must have had some talent. Callie then looks at Torres, and Torres wonders what he has to say. "We don't have to do anything for each other," he remarks. Callie remembers that Torres is one of his haters, so why help him now? Torres just smirks. Why does he have to explain himself to someone like him? He tells Callie to just get up and go away. After that, there are no more guys who will pick on Callie. They acknowledge that Callie is one of the boxing apprentices. At August Mansion guest reception room, a voice tells them not to worry. The match will proceed as usual. The instructor swears profusely. He can't believe what his master is saying. He bursts into the room limping. He yells that he told the master to refuse this match. They only have apprentice boxers on their side. The fat oaf yells, asking the instructor how he can stand it. Doraemon didn't bring any proper boxer shorts, so he might win if he does well. The instructor facepalms. There are only two ways: either prepare the best members and fight, or send out a sacrificial lamb for the next round. The fat oaf tells the master to get up and go away. The fat oaf doesn't take the hint. He issues an order to pick the best three and come. He wants to see Baron Doraemon lose his temper and go crying to Nobita. The instructor is on the verge of beating up his master. How much will he ruin their training center before he comes to his senses? If aces like Tors become disabled, the training center is over. They have to train their aces in 3 days and win. But honestly, it's easier to teach an ox to read and write than prepare seasoned boxers in 3 days. The instructor reveals that Mantis, Torres, and Callie will be fighting. He has decided to train the three of them and put them in a match against the Doraemon training camp in 3 days. He chose them because they are the best of the best and all the instructors have faith in them. Torres looks at the instructor nervously, wondering if he believes their team will win. The instructor remembers the Baron being a total imbecile and issuing the order to pick his best 3. He is speechless and turns to leave. He decides to be brutally honest and says he thinks there is a small chance of them winning. Mantis is about to pee his pants again. Will they die if they lose is the only question on his mind. The instructor reminds them that they won't die. After all, they are the master's property, but there is a fate worse than that. What if the opponents break their bones and disable them? One thing about the instructor's limp and the bitterness in his tone makes this believable. Callie wonders if the instructor really thinks that they can win. The instructor tells Torres that he will be sparring with the other instructors repeatedly. He will practice and gain more experience in 3 days. He turns to Mantis, telling him to find a way to handle his fear. He should train his mentality. Lastly, he tells Callie that if he needs anything, he should let him know. He chose him because of his recent wins, but he doesn't have anything specific prepared for him. Callie just asks for another person to help him train. Torres gets punched in the face over and over again. The instructor tells him not to hold back. His opponents will always be experienced fighters, but they are human. No matter how strong one is, if they get hit, they will fall. What he needs to do is act like a winner, even if his legs are shaking. What he needs to do is make the opponent feel that they are facing a god instead of a human. He tells Torres to take a break and continue later. Torres spots Callie standing by a wall. He wonders what in the world he is doing by himself. A voice asks Callie if he is crazy. A boy looks at a rock, wondering if he really needs to throw this. This is Valkyrie, a laborer who is helping Callie in his training. Callie tells him to do it just as he said. Without hesitation, the laborer throws him the rock. Callie manages to dodge it. It's a hit-or-miss training, something he learned from Master Gohan and Goten. He's one of the keys to modern boxing. He realizes that no matter how hard he trains, with no gear in this world, he can't gain muscle in 3 days. What he needs to do is work on his footwork, his weaving. He'll train his reflexes, and that's the most important weapon he can gain right now. He manages to cut one of the rocks with his bare hands. That's it for today. He needs to sharpen his body reflexes as much as he can. There's also training for boxers. A voice yells, cursing, promising to kill them all. A voice tells them to hold it, but another voice yells that they will die trying to avenge themselves. Callie wonders what in the world is going on. It turns out a boy is holding a shank and is furious, yelling that he won't forgive Doraemon. Callie looks at Mantis, asking for an explanation. Mantis doesn't know. Callie repeats the question. It's a serious situation, and he needs to spill the beans. It turns out the fighters from the Doraemon training camp just came by. They beat the other recruits mercilessly, as if they were mad about the match. There were no hard injuries, but only bruises. Nothing was broken except for their pride, and it's hard for the instructors to handle. Mantis is losing it. They'll be defeated if this keeps up. The boy, on the other hand, yells at Doraemon, promising to kill them personally. The instructor arrives, asking what the hell is going on. He grits his teeth in frustration and anger, calling the boy stupid and slapping some sense into him. He yells that if he loses it, he will also lose his life. Did he forget that he lost? The boy clenches his fist in anger as the instructor tells them to be stronger than they are right now. That's when Callie realizes that after training with these losers, living with them, sleeping with them, he has a bond. Starting from now, the fight won't only be an event for citizens, but also a fight for their master's pride. And it's also a battle between 2 training camps. He imagines his teammates facing opponents that seem unbeatable right now. 3 days later, it is finally the day of the match, and August Estate Arena is packed with spectators. The stands are buzzing with excitement. Half of the estate's people must have come here. The instructor gives Callie and the gang herbal tea to help them relax and gain some strength. If they think that they are going to lose, they should raise 2 fingers. It is better to have their pride hurt than to become crippled. He tells everyone the order of their fight. First up is Mantis. Hearing that he is first is enough to make him wet his pants and spit his tea out. Mantis wonders why he is the first one. The instructor just tells him to do well and come back alive. Callie calls out to Mantis, and he wonders why he is like this. Mantis looks at Callie as he explains not to let his opponents get close. Mantis angrily yaps that he must be an idiot. He obviously needs to be close to his opponents to hit them. If only this not-nosed kid knew who he was talking to. The announcer yells that first up is August Training Center's apprentice boxer Mantis, aka Kincho. With a frame as tall as a palm tree, he is one of the rising stars of the academy. The crowd goes wild, calling his name, but he is shaking in his boots because his opponent is a warrior with 14 wins from Doraemon Center. A boxer hardened in war named Baz. In front of Mantis, he looks like a powerhouse. Baz just smirks, telling the kid that having long arms and legs doesn't make him strong. Mantis is quivering towards curses because Mantis is totally off his groove. Kali curses Mantis for not listening to him. Even the lords think that he is tall, but he is still a kid. And in front of Baz, he is just chowder. Baron Joshua Doraemon looks at his fellow lord. Godolph is about to have a brain hemorrhage. He tells Baron Doraemon not to have a big head, as the match hasn't started yet. He also curses the instructor for not sending someone who can win. The match starts, and the muscle-headed freak looms in front of Mantis, zooming towards him. Mantis steps away and shrieks in horror. Everyone wonders why he is shrieking like a 5-year-old girl. Did they come here to see this kind of embarrassing display? They chant Baz's name, telling him to knock him out. Mantis is crying. Honestly, it's hard not to feel pity for him. He tries to hype himself up, telling himself to fight no matter what. His opponent wonders how long he plans on running away. He blocks one blow, but it shatters his pride and his ribs. The man can't believe that Mantis fell for such an obvious attack and a feint. He follows it with an arrow punch. Kali yells Mantis's name as he falls to the ground, and he wonders if this is really boxing. Everyone yells at Mantis to get up quickly. If he is going to fall so soon, he should just die. Mantis is crying. Tears and spit cover his face as the countdown starts. He wonders if he can just give up, but one look at his lord's face is enough to tell him that that's not an option. With trembling legs, he gets up. If he loses without throwing a punch, he will be kicked out of the training center and probably be destined to work in the mines. His opponent can't believe that he still has some fight left in him. Mantis yells that he is also a boxer. He also calms down and tries to do as the master said. He remembers talking to the instructor as he inquired about his loss against Kali. The instructor asked him why he lost, and he had no idea why. The instructor pointed out that it wasn't a fight he should have lost. Maybe he has an advantage as a boxer. Big height, long arms and legs, it seems like he doesn't use them well. He must have lost his cool and gotten impatient. When Mantis remembered how he fought Kali, it was indeed the case. He was impatient and tried to bring him down in a single blow, only to be beaten up instead. He let Kali get close to him. If he does this in this match, he will lose for sure. Mantis takes a deep breath and tries to calm himself. He shouldn't be afraid. He shouldn't let this muscle-bound freak get close to him. The barbarian rushes in for the kill, and he decides to intercept the attacking opponent. Mantis grits his teeth in frustration, anger, and a bit of hope. He unleashes a devastating strike towards his opponent, hitting him squarely in the chin with everything he's got, and breaking his nose in the process. Kali and the gang chant Mantis's name. Even Mantis is shaken by how well his fist connected. He looks at his fist, and with renewed confidence realizes that it works. He's still in the game, he's still beating, and he still has a chance to win. The opponent can't believe what he just saw. The kid who was shivering in his boots a moment ago just hit him with one of the worst punches he's ever gotten. Even Mantis looks at his fist in disbelief. That disbelief turns into fuel. Fuel to carry on and hit him again. He unleashes a devastating flurry of punches, each one harder than the last. The opponent can't do anything but defend, with his arms crossed. The crowd goes wild. This is the type of fight they were here to see. This is the type of fight they can gamble on. As he is flexible and fast, he loses unnecessary stress in his muscles. So if his threat keeps mounting, he will attack more seriously. Kali smiles. This is what he wanted to teach Mantis all along. Now he will finally live up to his name. Like a praying mantis, he will strike his opponent and tear his head off. Mantis feels the power flowing through his veins. A holographic mantis looming over him, scythe outstretched. As he is ready to hit him, and he is tall and has an angle, his opponent realizes that he must hit him. But it is hard to defend himself as well. If only he could hit harder, then it would be his end. He tries to close the distance between them with a sky uppercut, but Mantis manages to dodge it. He smirks and is about to deliver the finishing blow. Green light blazes in front of his opponent's face. He curses as Mantis slams him into the ground, knocking him unconscious and sending a trail of blood splattering all around him. The crowd goes wild, calling out his name over and over again. Mantis looks around in disbelief. He then looks at his instructor, trying to gauge his expression. His instructor is proud of him. He nods, and for the first time in his worthless life, he feels a pang of pride in himself. Instead of bullying the weak, he has actually won a serious one-on-one fight. With tears streaming down his face, he yells that he has won and starts laughing hysterically. Even the Lord is happy, laughing joyfully that his apprentice won, and Doraemon's apprentice, Bar, was beaten. As he continues to laugh, Bar's defeat rubs salt into Doraemon's wounds. Even Azalea facepalms herself because of her father's stupidity. Doraemon reminds the fatty that they still have 2 fighters left. He tells Valkyrie to tell the instructor that they will die if they lose the fight, and he will send the losers to the mine. This fat lump of lard doesn't know that instead of praising his fighters, he is trying to get them to fight out of fear. Valkyrie conveys the news to the instructor, and the instructor can do nothing but grab his head in frustration. With no other choice, he reveals the news to the remaining 2 fighters. If they lose, they will join their brethren in the mines. The monster is drunk on power and pride. The instructor tells Callie and Torres that he'll try to persuade their master later, but they're in danger if they surrender immediately. Torres gets up and tells them that there's no need to fret because he will win. Fighting spirit is reflected in his eyes. Callie also knows that he's facing a guy named Manga. He thinks that he's on a whole different level than Bar, a seasoned veteran with a whole beard, that he's an apprentice instead of an instructor. This world really needs weight class divisions, because Torres is facing a guy who is taller than him and double his size. Malga tells Torres that he'll give him a bit of advice. He's different from Bar. If he doesn't want to get hurt, he should give up now. Torres refuses to back down. He cracks his neck, telling him to show it with his fist, not his mouth. As soon as the referee tells them to fight, both of the fighters brandish their fists, ready to go blow for blow. The crowd holds its breath. The air stands still, and Kali's eyes widen in surprise. Malga is hit in the face, and so is Torres, but by the looks of it, Torres has received more damage. Blood splatters everywhere. As he's punched away, Torres refuses to back down and clenches his fist for another exchange. They go fist for fist, over and over again. It turns into a bloody fist fight, and the crowd is loving it. Torres wonder how. How many hits has he given him? He grins and tries to put on a brave front. Internally, he's scared. He's scared that he's going to fall down, but he has to act like a winner. Malga realizes that he's facing an opponent experienced with active fighters. He won't let him win though. He swings his arm widely, and Torres dodges it. Torres tries to home in, but is hit squarely in the forehead. Torres refuses to back down, telling Malga that if he uses his elbow, that's cheating. Malga just waves his arms around apologetically. It's an accident, and that happens in matches, and he also thinks that he gets to learn something from it. With his head bleeding, Torres is forced to accept his apology. It also fires the rage within him. He realizes that it has turned into a slugfest. He'll have to use every trick up his sleeve to win this match. Kamolga is literally built different, like a bootleg version of Escanor. 18 people have collapsed by his hand, and although he has failed to become an A-class fighter, he is still proud to be a veteran. But the opponent he is facing is a greenhorn apprentice fighter, and still he refuses to give up. His fighting spirit is the fiercest he has seen in a while. Torres clenches his fist. His eyes blaze with determination, and he harnesses his inner boar. Molga wonders why this guy isn't going down, like he hoped he would. The crowd goes wild, calling Torres a wild boar. For how powerful he is, they yell at him to hit Molga. Callie, on the other hand, is troubled. He knows that Torres is barbaric and incredibly strong, but this is a whole new level even for him. Torres continues to punch the stuffing out of his opponent. He punches him again, then again, giving him a free smile makeover and a nose job. Molga finally collapses and the crowd cheers Torres' name. Torres returned to the booth, and the instructor tells him that he has done a splendid job. It was a great game, and the audience loved him. He is a hit, but by the look of his face, he is 2 minutes away from passing out. He is huffing in exhaustion. Callie, while stretching his arms, tells Torres that he has done a fine job. Torres calls out to Callie as well, telling him that their victory is now based on his performance. Callie knows what's riding on his shoulders, and he vows to end it all and come back alive. He cracks his knuckles and walks towards the center stage. The last fighter from Doraemon camp is a fighter with 11 victories, a silver-haired brute named Boruto Uzumaki, and the fighter from August camp is Callie, a scrawny child. Everyone is booing for him. Some of them even remarked that the kids in their houses are bigger than him. Valkyrie desperately wants Callie to win. He quickly covers his mouth, and Azalea wonders what's going on. She wonders if Valkyrie really knows Callie. Valkyrie says that it's because he helped him during his training. He asked Valkyrie to throw pebbles at him while he avoided them. Azalea is surprised by his uncommon training methods. The Baron is finally pleased. Doraemon really wants this win so that he can save face. He also reasons that his fighters must have let their guard down, and he thinks that this time they'll win easily. The fat oaf, on the other hand, smiles, saying that it will be another disappointment for them, and it will be disappointing if they didn't win this. Azalea, on the other hand, is expecting to see a fabulous fight. Callie gets into his stance and faces the silver-haired wolf. Boruto apologizes as he can't let him win. As soon as the bell rings, he launches himself at Callie. Full throttle, his fists full of fury and desperation. Callie's eyes widen in surprise. He's faster than he expected. Faster than anyone he has faced. And dangerous, he manages to create some distance between them, but Boruto appears in front of him in the next moment. Callie curses for this veteran is blocking his movement. It's the end if he's cornered. He eyes the corner of the ring in his desperation. He needs to escape no matter what it takes. Even if he has to tank a blow, he needs to get out of this death trap. He clenches his fist and tries to throw a jab at Boruto, but Boruto just tanks them as if they're kisses instead of punches. The crowd goes wild, yelling that they're not here to see a baby fight against a hydrogen bomb. How dare they be treated with the hydrogen bomb and coughing baby meme? Is he even a fighter? They also yell at Boruto to not hold back and use his fist. Boruto is conflicted. Callie wonders if he really won't let him win. If he has made up his mind, he should use his fist properly. Boruto realizes that he's using the audience to coax him. He's not sure what he's after, but he'll crush him if that's what he wants. With a fist full of fury, he launches at Callie, but this is the moment he's been waiting for. Callie's eyes blaze with determination as he dodges the jab over and over again. Boruto unleashes a flurry of punches, but Callie dodges each one of them as if he was born with ultra instinct. The crowd is surprised to see the wild child hold his own against Boruto. Boruto is also forced to wonder if he's really an apprentice. Has his senses really sharpened to such a frightening degree? Doraemon yells at Boruto, how can't he land a single punch? A skinny apprentice like this. Azalea, on the other hand, knows that he is different from the other apprentices. She wants him to show everyone how different he is from the other fighters. Burrito tries to get into flow state, but Kali is anticipating his every move. He always uses the right jab, and sure enough, Burrito goes for a right jab, and Kali dodges it effortlessly. That is followed by a left hook and then a right uppercut. Kali weaves through those attack patterns like a ballerina. He remembers Valkyrie wondering why he is trying to avoid the pebbles. He explained, asking Valkyrie if he really wanted him to get hit all this time. He needs to look at his body. If he gets hit by even one of them, he will be broken into pieces. Valkyrie says that it's not that. In the end, if he doesn't throw a punch, will he even win? Kali reveals that his strategy is to avoid being hit while waiting for the perfect time to make a counter. The clueless boy wondered what the perfect time was. Kali explained that it's to watch their opponent's movements and analyze their patterns. Sure enough, Kali is analyzing Burrito's pattern on the fly while dodging every attack. He is trying to prepare a step ahead. He also knows that he moves his upper body for a punch, so he is trying to analyze the shoulder, chest, and weight, and he is getting ready to attack. He imagines Valkyrie throwing a pebble, just as Burrito is throwing a powerful punch. He is not sure if he can bear getting hit head on, but that's not on the menu. He remembers training relentlessly in his last life, punching the bag until his hands bleed, throwing jabs and shadowboxing, until his muscles screamed in agony with the experience of a seasoned fighter backing him. His senses are on a whole different level. He dodges a swing effortlessly and tries to go for a counter. The punch connects with explosive power enough to daze Burrito and draw blood. The bridge of his nose is destroyed, and he has also lost a couple of teeth. Kali doesn't let him off the hook with just that. He follows with another punch, and everyone looks at him in surprise. For the second time, he is punched. Valkyrie looks at the fight with an open mouth. He remembers Kali talking about analyzing patrons, and he really did it. He has brought the muscle-bound silver wolf to his knees. It's a sight to behold. Burrito wonders how this happened. He looks at his fingers digging into the dirt. Kali desperately wants Burrito to give up and not to stand. He can't use his right hand anymore. His knuckles are fractured, and his bones are creaking. He desperately wants Burrito to give up so they can move forward. But to his dismay, Burrito slams his fist into the ground, roaring in indignation and calling him a son of a gun. He wipes the blood from his nose, and Kali curses. Burrito remarks that he is like a rat, difficult to catch but easy to kill. He wants to crush him. He grabs a handful of dirt. It looks like this muscle-bound wolf has decided to play dirty, quite literally. No matter how fast he is, with sand in his eyes he won't be able to dodge, and if he can't see, it's his end. Azalea yells that he is cheating. Doraemon just smiles. It's his fault for not being careful. It's natural when they fall to get sand on their hands. Kali curses. He really can't get used to boxing in here. In this world, there are no rules, no weight classes, no class, and no dignity. It's not a regulated sport, but a slugfest. He tries to see through the haze, but it hurts. With his eyes burning, he gets a face full of fists, courtesy of Burrito. Kali goes flying through the air. Burrito grabs his face and calls him nasty for messing it up. Kali huffs in exhaustion and fatigue. Both of the fighters refuse to give up. One has his dignity riding on the match. Another has his freedom riding on the match. Burrito yells that this is the end for him. Kali tries to calm himself. He closes his eyes and tries to imagine where Burrito will be coming from. He imagines the energy hologram of himself appearing. He analyzes every possible outcome and remembers how he always starts with a right jab. He dodges the jab with closed eyes but gets hit by a hook. After tanking it, he puts everything he has into his fist and goes for a counter, slamming his fist into Burrito's face, breaking his nose even more, turning him into Krillin, and making him fall like a bag of potatoes. He roars, claiming his victory with poor visibility and a poor body. Azalea is speechless. This is not what she expected. She came all the way here to feel this sensation. The sensation of impossibility becoming a possibility. She looks at Callie roaring. Someone grabs his head, calling him a punk. It turns out it's the instructor, and he can't believe that they really won. Baron Doraemon, whose pride had fallen, left the territory quickly with his fighters. The master, who felt nothing but joy, gave them 3 whole pigs as a reward. They ate to their fill, and 2 months later, the harvest season had arrived. The fields are bountiful. Avakunchan's mantis, while unloading a crate of potatoes, wonders if they are farmers or fighters. Callie tells the long-framed boy that he's complaining too much. He should just think of it as strength training. Callie just smiles and looks at the sun. He's looking much better than before, with a lot of definition and muscle on his frame. They unload those, and Mantis wonders if they really think that they are farmers. Callie tells him to stop complaining. 2 men have gone by since their match with Doraemon, and he is in much better shape. He continues to grab the crates of potatoes, thinking of it as strength training. The farmers thank him for a job well done. He also thanks them for lending him a hand while munching on some snacks. The farmers wonder if they are going to the harvest festival of Duke West. Mantis wonders if they really can, since they are only apprentices. They might have to wait another year to go. The farmers tell them that it's too bad. They really wanted to see them fight again. Callie smiles and wonders what they are going to do at the harvest festival. Mantis looks at him as if he is a little slow. The highlight of the festival is boxing. Their master is one of the Duke's relatives. He imagines a dark, mysterious figure looking over 2 boxers fighting for their life inside the ring, and both Duke's cousin, their master, and Baron Doraemon smiling. Both of them are competing for his sponsorship, and right now Doraemon has the upper hand. Callie realizes that there is a lot going on outside of the farm. Mantis smiles and tells him to get ready. It looks like he has been hit on the head for forgetting that. He looks at the mansion with longing. It's been a year. In the reception room, the instructor pleads with his master for another year, but the master refuses to heed his advice as always. The last match was well prepared, and they were lucky. The Baron explains that he got a letter from the Duke. They must have heard that they won the last match, and they want them to participate. This time, the Baron wants to give his fighters more time to prepare, but Duke Wesley has personally asked to see the 3 apprentices, and if he refuses, his voice trails off. Duke Wesley is one of the 5 dukes in the kingdom. They can't possibly refuse. The instructor realizes the gravity of the situation. With a heavy heart, he agrees. The master says that if they depart for the Duke's house with an escort, the day after tomorrow, they need to be ready. From now on, those 3 are official boxers, and they need to be stamped with a mark. He imagines a blazing mark of iron being engrossed from the fighter's back. A voice says that it's still sore, but as long as he can box, he doesn't mind. Callie looks at his bicep, which is much juicier than before. He finally has the markings of a great boxer. Here is quoted to the Duke's mansion. A voice congratulates them on becoming an official boxer. Azalea smiles, looking at him through the carriage. Maybe it's good luck, because now, because of him, she can walk side by side with nobles. Callie still can't believe that a beauty like her is talking to him. She just smiles, and he thanks her. Mantis and Taurus are also looking at her. She also remarks that he has changed a lot. She wants to see the results of his training at the Harvest Festival. Mantis smiles and whispers into Callie's ear that their lady is really pretty. She's a beauty from afar. Callie can't help but agree. For sure, she's beautiful. Taurus tells Mantis to wash his mouth if they don't want to die by the master's hand. Mantis wonders why he's so worried. He tells Callie to listen carefully. The guy right there actually likes him. Taurus is furious. How dare Mantis reveal that he cares about Callie? He smacks some sense into him, and the caretakers tell the slaves to be quiet. Night falls, and everyone decides to take a break. Mantis looks at his arms. Why are there so many bugs sucking on him? Callie didn't know that the bridge would collapse because of a rainstorm. And what if bandits show up? The master tells Azalea to go to sleep first. The sun has set into the mountains, and they will leave early in the morning. He tells the knights to get ready. The knights say that it's the harvest festival, so bandits must be rampant. They need to hurry. The Baron argues that it's because of the bandits that he has hired security. Callie feels that something is off. He sees dark shapes loom into the background. His body freezes, and every fiber in his being warns him. He hears that something moved into the bushes. They need to leave right now. The master wonders what it is, and where he thinks he's going. Callie calls him a slave. All of a sudden, an arrow strikes the knight standing a few feet from their master. Another volley of arrows shines through the night. The knights try to shield themselves and the Baron. The instructor tells the boxers to hide in the bushes. The shower of arrows stops, and bandits arrive, brandishing their blades and their weapons. There are too many for the knights to fend off. All of the boxers yell that they need to unlock their chains so they can fight as well. The instructor hesitates for a moment, but if he hesitates for too long, it could cost him the life of his master and his daughter. He tells the trio to subdue only the ones who approach them, and not to be heroes. They need to protect the Baron and the lady. A voice yells, "Found them!" A bandit arrives brandishing a blade. The doors and Mantas shriek. Callie, on the other hand, intercepts it with a makeshift gauntlet. He then punches the bandit in the face and tells his brothers not to stand there and go. They're surprised to see Callie calling him a crazy bastard for using chains like that. He definitely is out of the ordinary. He realizes that he needs to go find their master and Azalea. The master is being dragged away by the knights. He is glad that the master is safe. The master yells that Azalea is still in the carriage and the bandits are going for it. One of them is even close to it. Callie yells at the bandit to stop, but the bandit king just smiles, rending his blade and swinging it at Callie, sending him flying away. Callie notices how strong he is. It's going to be a problem. The bandit barges into the carriage, and Azalea shrieks. The shriek is enough to awaken something within Callie, something like dormant, as he yells Azalea's name. A scream pierces through the night as the bandit king arrives, holding Azalea like a doll under his arm. Azalea has passed out cold, and Callie yells her name. His eyes widen as the bandit king makes a run for it. Who knows what that sick bastard is going to do to the baddie? The Baron, with a pale face, yells at the bandit king to stop what he is doing, but he is all bark and no bite. The only one who is actually doing something is Callie, who runs after the bandit king, promising to be back in a bit. Bold words for someone built like a stickman. The bandit king reaches the end of a cliff, and Callie tells him to stop right there. Now that he has nowhere else to run, he must face him. The bandit king sets down Azalea. Noticing how Callie looks like a slave, he brandishes his sword, a murderous gleam in his eyes, and a sick smile on his face. He wonders if Callie will join their little group. He is basically this world's Robin Hood, so why not join his gang? Callie cracks his shoulder. Why would this sick bastard point a knife at him while recruiting? What is this? A corporate job interview? He also knows that he would be doing nothing more than highway robberies if he joined their group. The bandit king smiles and holds his sword like an experienced veteran, telling Callie that this is the end of his story. Callie scowls, realizing that this man is not bluffing. He is trained. He wonders if he has been a gladiator, and the bandit king smiles, saying that he was a gladiator with 42 wins under his belt. He leaps towards Callie, ready to slice him into ribbons. Callie realizes that it is impossible to fight him head-on. After all, he brought his fists to a sword fight. He tries to brainstorm a way to get out of this situation while keeping his head on his shoulders. He dodges the first swing and rushes past the bandit king. The bandit king was not expecting him to pass by, but that was exactly what Callie had in mind. He grabs Azalea in his arms, telling the gladiator that he feels sorry for him, but he has no intentions of fighting. He leaps from the cliff, baddie in hand, with death just 3 steps behind. As he soars through the air, the bandit king looks at him, his cape billowing. He looks at Callie crashing into the waters, wondering if this is the last time he will see him. A voice calls out to Azalea, sighing in relief when she starts breathing. She slowly opens her eyes and gets up with a start. She looks around and then at Callie, who is shirtless. Callie asks if she is okay and gives her the rundown of the situation. Azalea does remember that one-eyed bastard going for her, and who knows what would have happened if she had been abducted. Kamoli scratches his nose proudly. He never thought that the combat and camouflage techniques he learned in the military would be useful here, though the way he made a run for it instead of standing his ground, he might have learned that from the French military. Azalea tells him to light a fire. It looks like this girl really does not have a brain on her shoulders. That is just like sending the enemies their GPS location. Callie tells her that it will not be possible since the trees are all moist, just like her, and they might get caught. Azalea has the audacity to call him incompetent, and he looks at her shivering, trembling like a leaf. Her body temperature must have dropped because of the fall. He tells her to get out of those clothes, or else she will catch a cold. It is clear that she is soaking wet. Her eyes widen in surprise and embarrassment. She wonders if this is his brain-dead way of hitting on her. Is he really telling her to take off her clothes? How shameless.
Kelly looks away and tells her not to get the wrong idea. It is just that it is better than freezing to death, and he will even turn his back. Azalea still tries to play hard to get, telling him he is bold. Our boy does not have any interest in that royal cake right now. All he needs to do is protect her so that he can keep his head.
Azalea tells him not to look back, or else she will kill him, and he just looks away. All of a sudden, his face starts turning red. Looks like fighting is not the only thing on his mind right now. When she is finally out of her clothes, he wonders if she is less cold. She is still trembling. Even our boy is trembling. He knows that her lips must be turning blue, and her body is shaking. He tells her that there are only 2 ways to survive this night. First, they need to move their bodies close and stick them together. He says, "Looks like our boy is hell-bent on getting that royalty cake." She nervously says that she is fine, even though she is trembling like a monkey having a seizure. She then looks at Callie, going for push-ups all of a sudden. Our boy is really putting up the A game to riz her up, telling her to take off her clothes, then to stick their bodies together, and finally showing off how many push-ups he can do. He really brought his A game. She looks at him, sweating, and he excuses himself as he sits next to her. After all, consent is just a myth. She gasps in surprise, telling him to move away. With embarrassment written all over his face, he says that they need to stick together. After all, this is the way soldiers had to endure during cold marches, and that is why a lot of them returned gay as hell. She may not like it, but if something happens to her, he will be dead courtesy of her idiotic father. The night continues to wane away. It is finally morning. The sun has risen, and so has our boy's wood. He walks through the forest, telling her that it is safe and she can walk. She wonders if he will carry her if she cannot. He realizes that she is still acting tough. All of a sudden, her stomach starts growling. She looks out in embarrassment, yapping that she has not eaten anything since last night. He just smiles and tells her to stop for a moment. He catches a fish barehanded and slices it open. He hands her a piece of the salmon. With a bit of hesitation, she tries it and immediately likes it. He says that if they go upstream, they will be able to join their group. But what if they meet bandits? She asks. He tells her that that is their fate, but they have to go upstream. She calls him irresponsible, but he claps back that he is always trying his best. After all, he just wants her to be safe. She is touched. He is neither a slave nor a boy. He is like someone who turns a blind eye to anything anyone has to say. But at the same time, he is incredibly reliable. She is seeing our boy in a whole new light, and the more she gets to know him, the more enigmatic he becomes. He wonders if she said something, and she says that he just needs to keep walking straight. The old gruff soldier sits on top of a pile of corpses. He complains that he was trying to get that fat ransom, but that little rat got in his way. He vows to kill him the next time he sees him. All he can do right now is chew on his cigar while he sits on his throne of corpses, made by knights of the escort. A voice catches his attention, and he turns to look. A voice says that they will meet the soldiers soon. He sneaks through the bushes and thanks his lucky stars because Callie and Azalea are passing by, saying it's the third time they've been here. He smiles. This is a heaven-sent opportunity, and it looks like he'll be getting that ransom after all, with a nice side of revenge served on a platter. He tells them that tigers will also come if they talk like that, and it's really nice to freaking meet them. Callie and Azalea freeze, looking at the 6-foot-tall barbarian. The barbarian asks if he is planning to fight without a weapon, not even a measly one. Callie stays silent. The only weapons he needs are the sword in his pants and the hands he has trained till this point. The gladiator calls him a sick bastard, promising to kill him and take the special prize. The mention of a prize raises some concerns. Looks like this barbarian is also this world's Diddy. He licks his lips. Before selling her, he'll have a nice long chat together. Azalea freezes, and this was not on her bucket list. Kali would rather die than let his woman be taken by a gorilla-faced bandit. He tells him that his dreams are too high for his trashy life. Who said that he's going to let him take her? He's also starting to worry, because the chains he was using as a shield have floated away in the river. Right now, he can't defend for anything. The gladiator knows and calls him a little boy, promising to shove his 6 inches of steel deep in his chest. He is about to cut him down right here and right now. Callie manages to dodge the first swing. Only a few of his hairs are sheared. He then dodges the other swing as well. The gladiator remarks that he's fast for a rat. But how long can he keep it up? He might be fast, but his stamina is not infinite. He continues to follow up with swings, and our boy does everything he can to dodge them. The gladiator is getting pissed and kicks him across the forest. Callie crashes into a tree stump. That kick just knocked the air out of his lungs, and Azalea yells at Callie to watch out. The sick bastard is just around the corner. Sure enough, he sees the glint of steel a few inches from his eye. He quickly wheels away, managing to avoid the attack. He realizes the sword has high precision and a long range, but he also knows the law of destruction. He remembers facing mantas for the first time. An opponent with long arms is easy to deal with, if they can close the distance between them. And that rule is also applicable to guns and knives. It's a little deadlier, but it can work. Unlike what any sane person would do, he rushes towards the gladiator. If he needs to win, he needs to win with his bare hands, and he has no choice but to move forward. The gladiator smiles, yelling that it is bold of him to walk towards him instead of running away. Azalea realizes what's on Callie's mind. As the gladiator swings his sword, our boy vanishes like a phantom right next to him and clenches his fist, punching the living lights out of his soft solar plexus. The gladiator wasn't expecting such power from a frail body. He is doing everything he can not to pass out, with veins popping on his forehead. He yells at the damn rat to break his steel to the bitter end. As he swings, time seems to stop. Kali looks at the blade, approaching in slow motion. What can he do but dodge? A thin slice appears on his nose, drawing blood. He needs to steel his courage to face the blade with his fist. He needs to harden his determination to move forward. The barbarian swings his sword again and again, realizing that the bastard is aiming for his blind spot. And that's what our boy has been waiting for. He gets the opening he's been trying for, clenches his fist, and hits him with his signature sky uppercut. The gladiator spits out a handful of blood as our boy grabs him by the shoulder and flings him over his shoulder. And then, since Callie is a kind soul, he gives him a free dental makeover and a nose job using his elbow. After he's finally done with cosmetic surgery, he huffs in exhaustion as he can't move anymore. He looks at his patient, lying unconscious next to a tree stump. Judging from his nose and his smile, he can easily apply for British citizenship now. He tries to inch for his blade, promising to kill the bastard when he gets the chance. A dark shadow looms over him. Someone grabs his sword, and he realizes that he won't be getting that revenge after all. Azalea grabs the blade, saying that she tried to keep a pure heart, but he wanted to disgrace her. He deserves death 1,000 times over. She finishes off her sentence by stabbing him in the chest. Even killing him 100 times is not enough. Callie wasn't expecting the regal redhead to be a crazy witch. He realizes that his ladyship is not normal, but now he just wants to rest. After dealing with the boss, saving the Huss, and winning a sword fight with his bare hands, our boy has boosted his street cred and has returned safely. He was found by the rescue party. The instructor wipes his nose, telling him he is lucky that he got away with a little cut. He could have gone blind, or worse, handicapped. Callie just smiles. The scar makes him look manly, and that's what he was hoping for. A voice calls out to Callie. They turn to see the Baron shaking his head remorsefully. He thanks Callie for saving his daughter from the bottom of his heart for saving his daughter. Callie can't believe that the Baron is actually thanking a slave. He gasps, seeing that it is his sworn duty. The Baron tells him to sit down and rest. That's an order. It's the least that he deserves. He looks at his knights in a fit of fury, telling Callie that he has a right to rest. But the same can't be said for these pathetic morons that were tasked with keeping them safe. They don't even know how to fight a gladiator. He also tells Callie that he is amazing to have fought a gladiator and returned alive. Does he have any secrets? Callie remembers all of the burly men he has fought in this world. The only thing that helps him win these battles is that they underestimate him for looking weak, and that's how he rescued Azalea from the bandits and earned their loyalty. Mantis is continuously grilling Callie for tips and tricks to fight and beat a gladiator. At this point, our boy can launch a course and make a killing. They were able to hitch a ride in the carriage. A beautiful castle looms, standing all alone around a wheat field. The carriage is escorted to Wesley City, home to the Duke. The Duke smiles. He has a low taper fade and a goatee. He might have power, but it can't be said about his sense of fashion. He eagerly greets the Baron, realizing that he must have traveled a long way. The Duke smiles, thanking him for his kindness. The Duke then turns his attention to Azalea. She has become a fine lady, just like her mother. She bows respectfully. It's an honor that he remembers her. Our boy is also standing next to her in plain robes. He remembers Azalea handing him the robe, saying that this is one of the servants' attire. He'll have to serve her, as one of the servants is sick, and he's the only one that fits the bill. Since the others are ugly as hell and have bulky bodies, they can't pass as servants. Our boy doesn't know if he should take it as a compliment or a diss. What he wants to do right now is train. Instead, he's stuck taking care of the Huss. The Duke throws a lavish banquet in honor of the Baron and his daughter. Everyone is seated at the table, talking about politics. The Duke smiles, turning his attention to August and asking if his apprentices really won 3 boxing matches in a row, and they were also apprentices, instead of official boxers. August smiles proudly, saying that the apprentices are now official boxers. The Duke is surprised and praises his training center. As they continue to talk about boring stuff, Azalea feels isolated and alone. She sighs and whispers something into her father's ear. She then turns to Callie, telling him to follow her. They walk through the market. She thought that she was going to suffocate and die from all those grown-ups talking about boring stuff and glazing each other. She didn't want to come in the first place. The least they can do is look around the market. Callie notices that she looks unhappy, and she looks at him with a raised eyebrow. Duh. Her father is obsessed with finding her a husband, and it's horrible to spend her life tied up at a young age. Callie realizes that she has serious commitment issues. She would have loved feminism if it were available in this world. She buys 2 lollipops, handing one to Callie and telling him that this is candy and he must have never tasted it before. What she doesn't know is that our boy had access to even greater candies back in his home world. He takes the candy because after he was Iseiki'd, he hasn't had anything sweet except for the fruit he shared with Azalea. He notices how sweet and delicious it is, and she looks at him as if she wants to say that that's not the only thing she has that is sweet and delicious. She turns her head lovingly, asking if that's true, but one look is enough to convince every man in a 10-mile radius to die for her. Callie realizes that he was blessed to have such a lady on his side. He is looking at her as if she were the first woman to say something cute. He also notices an ugly hag hanging around the crowd and looking at them. He wonders if this situation is going to turn into some Snow White type of story and why she is staring at him. The old woman approaches them and, thankfully, doesn't offer a cursed apple. Instead, she offers Azalea a chance to get her fortune read. Kali doesn't believe in horoscopes and wants to go away, but Azalea wants to see what her future holds. The old hag leads them to her tent. She looks around and smiles, saying that this is just a gypsy tent she has heard of. Kali is still skeptical about the old woman and wonders what she is up to. She looks into her glass orb and tells Azalea that her life won't be smooth sailing. There will be many twists and turns. She looks at the orb in surprise. To Azalea, a boring life is not worth living. It's good that there is a twist and turn, but what about love and marriage? Kali looks at Azalea, starstruck. No matter if it's Earth or a fantasy world, women will always fawn over horoscopes. The old woman tells Azalea that her partner might be close by, and she won't be able to have a love that everyone blesses her with. Azalea blushes out of the blue. She then looks as the old woman turns her attention towards Kali, offering to read his fortune. Kali is not interested, but Azalea wants to hear what she has to say. After all, it's free, and he has nothing to lose. The gypsy looks into her glass orb. It starts to shine, and she sighs. She tells Kali that he came from a distant land, a place that no one can imagine. This catches his attention. Maybe this woman is not a scammer. He asks where he came from, and she looks into the orb, saying that she doesn't know, but what she sees is weird. Azalea asks what she sees. The gypsy says she sees a metal bird flying in the sky, a carriage that moves without a horse, and a human inside a box. Kali gasps in surprise and slams his hand on the table. How can this old woman talk about an airplane, a car, and a TV? Looks like she is legit. Hearing the gypsy talk about the metal bird in the sky, the carriage that moves without a horse, and the man on the TV is enough to convince him that she is legit. Just what the hell is the old woman smoking to be able to see all of this? A glimpse of his past. She mentions an unusual energy hanging over him. It's as if he has a guardian angel by his side. Azalea excitedly says that he must be destined to become a great fighter, and maybe that's why he can win so easily. Kali shoots her down, saying that that's just superstition, and if she believes it, she's a fool. She pouts in anger and storms away, telling him to believe what he wants, but he shouldn't cross the line since he is a slave. Kali realizes that he fumbled. His only chance to be with that baddie. He apologizes over and over again. The gypsy is curious. How can he be a slave when he has the markings of a great man? This kind of energy isn't something a slave can end up with. The next 3 days are spent trying to make up to Azalea, as she continues to throw a hissy fit. Finally, he can go back to the slave dorm. He thought that he could train as soon as he arrived, but just as usual, he is blocked by 2 blockheads who take him for a weakling. One of them sneers, calling him a skinny man, and asks if he really wants to be a fighter. They don't hold boxing matches for rats at the moment. Another one smiles, saying that his dog can be a fighter too, if this guy is one. Kali wonders why a guy is always picking on him before a fight. He just wants to go to the slave dorm. One of them laughs, telling Kali that he can go if he can crawl over his foot. The other laughs as if it's the greatest joke in the 19th century. Kali is losing his patience. He doesn't want to hit their chins with his signature sky uppercut. He asks them if they've ever been hit by a fighter. They should stop picking a fight with him. One of them grabs his spear in anger, yelling how dare a slave talk back. A voice tells them to stop, and they freeze. They stutter, looking at the Duke striding towards them. One of them stutters, asking how dare a slave come to a citizen's place. The Duke yells that this boy belongs to one of his customers, Baron August, and how dare he stain his face by picking a fight with his customer's slave. They both walk away in shame. The Duke turns his attention to Kali. The first time they saw him, he didn't believe that Kali was a fighter. Is he really one of those who defeated Doraemon's fighters? Kali is speechless and nervously replies, yes. The Duke grabs his shoulders, startling him. He notices that Kali indeed has strong shoulders, but he still doesn't believe that he's the one who defeated Baron Doraemon's fighters. With a scary look in his eyes, he asks Kali what he's hiding. Kali is starting to sweat bullets. Is this going to turn into a strip search if he doesn't reveal his secrets? The Baron cracks a smile, easing the tension between them and apologizing, because he just gets excited when meeting fighters. He'll stop before he gets carried away, and tells Kali that he'll see him at the match. Kali wonders what the hell was that encounter. Are all of the nobles crackheads? The accommodation for the slaves and fighters includes nothing but a rural tent area. Burly men are training with free weights and logs. Our boy is also showing off, doing a handstand. While he has many things weighing on his mind, all he can do is train to the best of his ability. His muscles gleam in the sunlight. As he continues his one-handed push-up routine, Torres smiles, saying it's nice to live in the castle for 3 days, isn't it? Kali stops his workout, telling Torres that he's dying of frustration. The instructor notices how big this place is. It's going to be bigger than their previous match. The fighters here are veterans, and Doraemon's slave fighter training camp is not the only one they have to worry about. They're also free fighters. He wants his team to be lucky so that they don't get to play in this round if it's full. Torres wonders if they will really be lucky. The instructor tells them that he is 100 years early to deal with the other fighters who are gathered here. This ignites a fire within Torres. He's itching to run the fade. He wonders if he really needs to stay still in the training camp. He is ready to win everything right now. The instructor just looks at Torres with cold eyes. He closes his eyes and sighs before kicking the living daylight out of his chest. The instructor yells, "Does he think it's funny? He's probably going to die before his debut. He shouldn't joke about fighting, even calling him a son of a gun." The fact is that many boxers have won dozens of times in a row, and a mountain of bodies lies under their feet. It's not because they were weak, but because they overestimated their worth. The instructor tells Torres that he'll die if he keeps it up. Kali apologizes, promising to keep it in mind. The instructor is on the verge of having a brain aneurysm. How good a fighter he is doesn't matter. They still lose focus during a match. He looks at Mantis, telling him to do something about his weak-ass mentality. Everyone starts screaming, turning their attention to a thick chain being dragged on the ground. A voice yells that Ogre from Doraemon's camp has arrived. Even the instructor is visibly shaken. Ogre, they say. Sure enough, a 7.9-foot tall man strides through the slave camp and draws attention from everyone. The instructor can't believe that Doraemon is going all out. He can't believe that he brought Ogre. Mantis looks at him in horror. Is he even human? The instructor says that compared to him, a real ogre is nothing but a kid. This man looks like he is 9 feet tall and made of pure muscle. He looks like if Broly and Gigantamakia had a love child together. Even Kalali is starting to sweat. He really looks like an ogre from a fantasy world. This is Doraemon's ogre, one of the fiercest fighters in this world, who can crush a skull with the tip of his pinky. He is a fierce fighter who has won 76 times in a year. Mantis quickly runs the math. If he won 76 times in a year, then he must have fought 3 to 4 times a day. They've heard rumors that he can rip off someone's limb with just his bare hands, so it makes sense to call him an ogre. Mantis turns to the instructor. They'll be in grave danger if they are matched with something like that. Can't their master pull some strings or something? The instructor looks troubled. Their master also doesn't want them to fight the ogre. It's too early for them to fight him. There's a possibility that they won't be paired with him. Even Kali isn't interested in running the fade. He knows that he gets the nickname. As a matter of fact, and not an exaggeration at all, it looks like they belong to different species. Mantis is about to piss his pants. He turns to Kali, laughing nervously, sure that Kali doesn't want to fight with him. But Kali is already making a game plan to fight the ogre in case he's paired with him. He wonders what will happen if his fist can't touch the jaw. His sky uppercut will be useless. For it to work, he needs to make Ogre bend his body. But how? He loses stamina first, but if he hits the other parts of his body, there won't be any noticeable damage. The gap between their strength is too much, and he can't find a way to fight him. Mantis wasn't expecting Kali to be brainstorming ideas to take down the ogre instead of being scared out of his mind. Does he really want to fight that monster? And sometimes he feels that Kali is on a whole different spectrum. It looks like he has a barbaric side to him, and maybe Mantis is the only normal person in the whole training camp. All of the Barons are gathered together to see the fight chart. Looking at the match schedule, Baron August notices someone talking about how it will be tough. Doraemon arrives and smirks, holding out his hand towards August. It's a shame that anyone who is paired with an ogre will give up. August just laughs nervously, telling him to see the match later. The instructor is impressed by how his lordship didn't fall for provocations. If he gives in to his pride this time, he will lose his fighters. The threat is so huge that even someone as idiotic as the Baron knows to play it safe. Who is crazy enough to fight a monster like that? He nervously looks at the ogre being escorted by a whole entourage of guards. He knows the reason why the ogre is so famous. Doraemon smiles. He's trying to give his 3 fighters some respect. The instructor wonders if he wants the 3 of them to die. August heard that he made the last 3 fighters that Doraemon brought to fight Ogre. He must be serious this time, because that's actually a death sentence for them. The instructor feels sorry for the 3 fighters they defeated. They then check their own schedule. It turns out that Torres will be fighting on the first day, and Kali and Mantis will be in the ring on the second day. Ogre is also placed on the first day, but thankfully, he doesn't have a fight with them. It's a pity to know that the other Baron's fighters will have to face Ogre. The first day of the match arrives, and Wistry Stadium is packed to the brim with spectators going wild, ready to see epic fights go down. The fighter opposing Ogre has a pale face and sweat covering his body. He wasn't expecting his first fight to be his last. Ogre slams into the ring, his intimidating pressure enough to make a grown man cry for his mommy. He asks Ogre not to take a step closer. He accidentally bumps into one of the pillars, and Ogre stands there with the murderous gleam in his eyes and oppressive aura surrounding him. He brandishes his face and slams into the pillar as the fighter manages to dodge it. When Ogre retracts his fist, the fighter looks at the pillar in horror because it's been crushed. Smoke is coming out of it due to friction. Doraemon sighs. He told Ogre not to destroy the pillar, but internally, he's enjoying all the attention he's getting. He promises to repair the pillar later, but internally, he wants to tell the Ogre that he's done a fine job. Callie realizes that Ogre really has earned his nickname. He doesn't feel like a human at all. The fighter collapses on his bottom. He tries to get up, but his knees won't let him. The crowd goes wild, hungry to see blood, calling him a son of a gun, and telling Ogre to kill him right here and right then. The man can only look at him in horror. Instead of a friendly boxing match, he has ended up in a boss fight with no save button. He wants to surrender and let him win, but the Ogre has something else on his mind. The spectators want him to end it in blood, and that's what he'll do. He cracks his neck and is about to punch the living daylights out of him. A sickening crunch echoes through the stadium, and the crowd goes wild. Callie has seen many people bite the dust during a fight, but this is on a whole new level. He's never seen anyone have such a terrible death, and coming from an ex-gangster, that means a lot. With only his bare hands, he's crushed his skull, making his face unrecognizable. Fortunately, Ogre doesn't have any professional skills or training. He only has superhuman strength. Mantis looks at Callie, asking if he's still thinking of ways to take down the Ogre. Callie tells him that that's not what's on his mind. Maybe he won't have the opportunity to fight the Ogre. Mantis then looks at Torres, telling him to stop thinking about nonsense. If they fight a guy like that, they'll lose their lives no matter what. Even Torres is sensible enough to know that he doesn't want to just defeat his opponent, but wants to kill them as well. Ogre grabs the unaligned fighter like a rag doll, screaming excitedly and showing his trophy to the crowd. Torres has really earned the nickname Wild Boar because he refuses to give up no matter what. He huffs in exhaustion. Even breathing seems like a chore right now. As his muscles scream in agony, he refuses to give up. He has knocked down his opponent after giving his best in the last match of the day. He stands over his opponent victorious, proud, and satisfied. Kali looks at him, realizing that tomorrow, he'll be fighting in the ring. A voice asking if he likes boys. His face turns pale. Here he is worrying about his life and his next match, and someone just asks him if he's straight or not. He turns to Azalea, asking what kind of question is that. Azalea says that boys can't even talk while seeing her face, and here he is, as calm as a cucumber. Isn't he nervous? As she leads him to the castle, she hears that many fighters died on the first day of their match. She wonders if she won't be seeing him anymore starting tomorrow. Callie nonchalantly says that he's not a noble like her, so he has nothing to lose. Azalea smiles and grabs an apple from her basket, telling him that he has a sharp tongue, and maybe that's because he's a fighter. Is it the reason why he's good at talking? She tosses him an apple, telling him that if he wins tomorrow, she will dedicate herself to him as his victory. Callie doesn't know what to say. It looks like he has bagged the baddie, and all he needs to do is survive tomorrow to get a taste of the royal cake. He tells her not to worry, because he'll definitely win. Drums echo through the stadium as the crowd goes wild, cheering to see the next match. Callie wraps his hands with bandages. It's finally starting. It's time for his match. The instructor looks at Callie, realizing how much his body has changed. The muscles on his back and his shoulders are getting bigger than before. From a frail, sickly child, he is turning into a promising fighter. He is facing a veteran fighter with 21 wins under his belt. He looks like a roid head, with bulging muscles and veins popping up in places that shouldn't be possible. The announcer says that compared to Caesar and his overwhelming physique, Callie looks like a dwarf, but he is the rookie who won one fight against an experienced fighter. Callie stands there unfazed, ready to see how it goes down. The spectators, on the other hand, are slandering Callie, wondering if they are going to see a crappy fight. They also wonder if he is properly eating. He looks like someone who comes from a poor family. Callie doesn't pay them any mind, because he knows that Azalea has her eyes on him. He will definitely win. Azalea hears someone say that the result of this fight is obvious. Caesar has been gaining recognition these days. He will become the champion in the future. A sleazy noble arrives with a forehead as wide as a 4-lane highway. Azalea has nothing to do here, so maybe that's why she hates coming to these places. She still pretends to be polite, saying that she thinks that the boy from their side will win. The boy starts to mansplain that physics is absolute in boxing. He is not sure if he should say this, but he also had to fight someone in the past. She smiles politely, but finds it pathetic that this dude is bragging about fighting when he has the body of a wet paper bag. She decides to make a bet. She bets that the boy from their side will win, and if he loses, she will spend time with him tomorrow. He smiles and wonders if she is into him. He also wonders what he has to do if he loses the bet. She looks away suggestively, remembering how she saw a nice ruby necklace at the craft shop she went to yesterday. The guy smiles, realizing that he has the baggie in the bag because he is convinced that she is making a losing bet. Callie stands there face to face with that hulking monster. Caesar smiles, promising to go easy on him if he gives up. He should blame his master for putting him in the match. Callie just sighs, wondering why everyone runs their mouth more than their hands. Is this a Barbie tea party, or is this a fight with men? He should shut his mouth and bring it on. Caesar likes the way he thinks. For a small brat, he has balls of steel. He throws the first punch and Callie manages to dodge it. He also notices how Caesar has iron muscles. It's as if his whole body is wrapped in armamentarium hockey. He also has a thick hide, so he won't fall easily with a sky uppercut. His eyes blaze as Callie notices Caesar's attack pattern. He dodges the moves over and over again, and Caesar remarks that he must be good at dodging. After all, rats are naturally good at dodging. He takes a deep breath and activates children beating breath. First form, barrage of punches. He's sure that Callie won't be able to dodge them. As his punches speed up over and over again, the loser noble tells Azalea that it looks like their bet has come to an end, but another noble gasps. Even the crowd holds its breath, wondering if it's a joke, because Callie is dodging each blow with surgical precision. It's as if he is using ultra instinct. Loser noble wonders what in the world is going on. This is impossible. Even Caesar is on the verge of a brain hemorrhage. The noble wonders if this fighter is really him. The fighter who knocked down Doraemon's best. He heard that this guy won with his eyes closed. Azalea just smiles. It looks like she'll be getting a free ruby necklace in the future. The crowd falls silent, their eyes about to pop out of their sockets as Callie enters flow state. He dodges a punch, wondering if he can knock him down in a single shot. He dodges another one, wondering if he can stack up damage and break down his muscles. He dodges another one by crouching, wondering if his stamina will last longer than his opponent's. He looks at his opponent's massive back and his liver. Are these the spots he should aim for? Caesar huffs in exhaustion, running out of steam. He calls him a damned rat. But this is the moment Callie has been waiting for. He can't miss his chance for anything. With a gleam in his eyes, he rushes forward, the ground cracking under his feet as he lands the explosive punch right in the solar plexus. The punch is so powerful it shatters Caesar's ribs. Callie smirks, realizing that it went in. The instructor looks at him in a daze. He can't believe that the punch has such explosive power, and it had also perfect weight shift. He remembers Callie's training. It looks like he's reaping the fruits of his constant muscle training. After all, Callie has turned his body into that of a warrior. He couldn't dream about landing such a punch with the original flimsy body he was given. It's as if he was given a beaten-up Toyota, and he modified it into a Lambo. It's not an attack based on the opponent's movement and weight utilization. It is a punch he has delivered with his own strength. The punch is so powerful, it forces Caesar to cough up blood. He struggles and nurses his wounds, but Callie is far from over. He hits Caesar with a sky uppercut, his favorite move. The instructor smiles. He's finally feeling something he hasn't felt in a long time, pride in his apprentice. He realizes that he has really grown. Everyone cheers for Callie, telling him to keep pushing, and he's not bad for a little one. The loser noble, on the other hand, looks like he has seen a ghost. Azalea smiles with satisfaction. Callie looks at his fists. It hurts to even punch this big off, but the thick muscle armor that he is proud of is starting to crack. Fissures are appearing over his chest, and Callie smiles with satisfaction. Caesar grits his seat in frustration, the yelling barbarically and ready to throw a punch with no skill at all. The punch is so sluggish that he leaves his back wide open for Callie to crack it with a punch of his own. With spittle flying all around him, Caesar realizes that this is not a normal punch. He imagines his back being pierced by a bullet, not more of a bullet, but more like a spear. He imagines a spear jabbing through a concrete wall and creating holes. That's what's happening right now. It feels as if Callie is wielding a sharp spear and boring holes into his body. Callie refuses to give up and continues to hit him over and over again. Out of the kindness of his heart, he gives him a free nose job, just like what he did with the gladiator Azalea. Holds her breath. The loser noble is sweating bullets, and the instructor is on the edge of his seat. Callie yells that this is the life he'll create for himself. He brandishes his fist once again, slamming it into Caesar's face and knocking the lights out of his eyes. Blood spews everywhere as Caesar collapses like a bag of potatoes. Callie pauses as the crowd cheers his name over and over again. He raises his arm, proclaiming his victory as the loser noble yells that this is impossible. Azalea just smiles, clapping politely and pointing out that she won. She smugly tells him that she'll be looking forward to the necklace. The noble storms away, cursing Caesar. If only he had fought more decently, it would have been less humiliating. August gets a big head, yelling that the boy is his boxer and he raised him with care. Azalea looks at his father, wondering why he is being so embarrassing. August stands behind Azalea, looking at Caesar as Caesar bangs his chest and raises his fist. The crowd goes wild. Azalea smiles happily, realizing that he is dedicating his victory to her. But that big idiot thinks that he is dedicating his victory to him. The Baron says that it's good that Callie knows to be grateful. Callie just smiles, realizing that he did it. He basks in the glory of the crowd. He's finally become stronger and is on his way to achieve his dream. It was a good match. The instructor sways as he throws Callie a towel. The public as well as the nobles were impressed by his A-game. He thanks the instructor and winces in pain as his knuckles throb. He coughs violently as the instructor takes off his bandage to reveal bruised and swollen knuckles. The instructor sighs, telling him that he has a long way to go. He still feels proud of his impractice, telling him to soak it in water. Callie looks at his reflection. He didn't even know that his knuckles were hurt, and if he had pushed himself a little further, he would have damaged his bones just like Midoriya. Torres smiles, teasing him that his body is as fragile as ever, but he did well. He thought that he only used his head, but this time he used his strength. Mantis, on the other hand, is on the verge of a brain stroke. In a trembling voice, he tells Callie that he really won and he's going to win too. Everything about him screams nervousness. Torres tells him to stop shaking the bench so much. The instructor tells Mantis to breathe deeply. Does he want to go out and not be able to throw a single punch? Mantis can't help it. The crowd's noise is ringing in his ears. His face turns pale. He's out of breath and he feels as if he's going to choke. Callie realizes that it looks like he's having a panic attack. Not surprised for someone as fragile as him. After all, he's the only one who's normal in this training camp. Callie is an ex-gangster who returned as a boxer. Torres is a better, loving berserker who wants to prove himself no matter what, but Mantis is just a scared kid with a bit of muscle and long arms and legs. Callie tells Mantis not to think too much. Just stay out of range and hit his opponents with his long arms as he did in his last match. Mantis looks at his arms, wondering if it's even possible to forget about everything else. At the end of the day, he has won his match, but he didn't come out unscathed. With a black eye and bruises all over his body, he screams that he won. He basks in the crowd's glory, and both Torres and Callie look at him. Get a big head. Mantis thanks Callie for his advice. He followed what he said and won. He starts going off about how strong he is, and he must be the best of the best. Callie just smiles nervously. It was a desperate measure, but maybe he has some talent as well. Later, Azalea smiles with satisfaction, remembering the look on the noble's face. His face was as red as a tomato, and his hands were trembling. Callie wonders what she would have done if he had lost. Azalea smiles, looking at her reflection as a maid helps her dress. Didn't he boast about winning the match no matter what? Thanks to his conviction, she was able to make the bet, and even convince her father to let him act as her bodyguard. Callie remembers saying that, and also how Miss Azalea has a really big heart. Azalea decides to take it as a compliment. She smiles with the brilliance of 1,000 suns. After all, she's the type of woman that men would go to war for. She tells Callie to get ready. Her father comes running towards him. A guest came looking for him. She wonders who it is for her father to act like a fool, all sweaty and disgraceful. Her father says there is a second son of Count Joseph. Azalea grimaces, wondering if it could be. He is one of the potential fiancés chosen by her father for her. The man smiles, saying that he found her to be a beautiful red-haired girl. He introduces himself formally. He is Joseph, the second son of Count Joseph. He is the same loser noble who lost the bet and made a fool out of himself. Azalea looks away in horror. She is a girl from a powerless baron's family, and he is getting a big head. The Joseph family is a prestigious family with a lot of political ties. No wonder his father is as happy as a dog who found a big bone. She looks at her father acting like a damn fool and a greedy bastard. Joseph brings out a ruby necklace, the one he promised her, even saying that the craftsmanship is really good. It suits her hair well. She looks at the necklace, displeased. Now she is embarrassed in front of everyone. She bows respectfully, saying that he is an honorable person to keep his promises, and now she will take her leave. Joseph replies that he lost the bet, but would she still give him the honor of walking together? Azalea holds her breath. This is what she feared. She wanted to run away before he said those dread words. She looks at her father, eyeing her greedily. She tries to storm away, but her father grabs her wrist, telling Joseph that it looks like his daughter is too embarrassed to speak. They'll prepare right away. Inside the castle, she yells that she has no intention of spending time with the bastard. The fat lump of lard tells her daughter to wait a minute. Won't she spend some time only for her father's sake? She might see something good in him. He also nervously says that he wants her to live in a better place than their territory. Azalea is speechless. She is not sure how to deal with her pathetic father. He is pitiful, and decides to see him only once. As she gets ready, Callie looks at the master in a whole new light. He is a pathetic gentleman running a training sector without knowing a thing about boxing. He only cares about immediate benefit, and he also sold off his star apprentices and somehow didn't go bankrupt. A voice calls out to Callie, calling him a boy boxer. Joseph arrives. No wonder he was so confident when he made the bet. This feels dirty. His face immediately twists as he reveals his true colors, asking if they conspired together to rip him off. He yells at Callie for being a filthy bastard with a bad face. He slaps Callie over and over again, telling him to know his place and to know that he was lucky this time. He'll fall to the ground in the arena soon. As Joseph walks away and puts on the kind-hearted man's mask, Callie is burning with fury and rage. If only he weren't a noble, he would be getting a free nose job and a dental makeover as well. The day is warm and sunny, with a gentle breeze blowing, a perfect day for a picnic. Both Lady Azalea and Count Joseph sit together on a basket overlooking a lake. Callie lies on his back a few feet away. He looks at them enjoying their time together, with a whole army of servants standing behind them. Is it really okay for her to be alone with that two-faced bastard? He thinks, but that's not his problem right now. He looks at the sky and the clouds, noticing how wonderful the weather is. He starts dozing off. He dreams about his past life, hitting someone in the face and getting hit in return, then clapping back with a jab and making his opponent fall like a sack of potatoes. He just hit after getting hit, and that's how he knew that he was built different. No one could stand before him after taking a hit, or so he thought. He remembers the day his life changed forever. He got into a fist fight with a bastard, and someone jumped behind him, banging up his arms with a baseball bat. He always thought that he was untouchable, unbeatable, and unbreakable, but that day proved him wrong. His arms were shattered and fractured. He remembers his life as a gangster, beating up burly men for a living. He used violence as a way to compensate for his broken fists. He remembers his sad life and his last moments, when he was stabbed by his own brothers. He remembers the last cigarette he had. If he could return, then he would never. His eyes shoot open. He gets up with a jolt, realizing it was a dream. He got his second chance at life, and if he could return, he would never live like that again. It looks like he spoke too soon, because fate wouldn't let him leave that gangster behind. A maid rushes towards Callie, begging him for his help, because things have turned south. A bottle of wine lies there, completely empty. A voice tells Azalea to stop playing hard to get. Doesn't she know how expensive that necklace was? If she has received it, the least she could do is pay back with her body. The slime-faced noble grabs Azalea's arm, as Azalea yells at him to stop joking around. She got it fair and square from the bet. She then hits him with a bloodline-ending kick, ready to break his jewels and ensure that he doesn't pass his scummy genes to future generations. His face twists in anger, and he slaps Azalea across the face. Callie looks at her being slapped, and he loses his shit. He rushes towards Joseph, ready to give his face a full-on makeover for pretty boy guards. They block his way, telling him he's not getting past no matter what, calling him a dim-witted boxer. Callie remembers the life he led before reincarnation. He feels the dog in him and tells them that if they dare block him, they won't be returning with proper limbs. Are they ready? One of them nervously tells Callie that his shitty fighty techniques won't do anything in real combat. Another one tells him to come at him, little bro, only to be punched in the face. He screams for his eye before Callie grabs his fingers and starts cracking them like Twinkies. The others look at him in horror. One of them runs away, trying to get guards, telling his bros to hold them off. In reality, he's the smartest out of them, leaving his bros as cannon fodder. Callie is shrouded in a murderous aura. He tells them to bring it on. They're visibly shaken. Screams echo through the meadows, only to be silenced. On the other hand, Joseph is still trying to force Azalea. This is all he can do, since he doesn't have any restraints. The trashy noble tells her to stop resisting. He gets kicked in the face by Callie, who sends him sailing through the air. The noble grabs his face in horror, asking Callie how he got past his guards. Callie grits his teeth in frustration. He's in no mood for jokes or trash talk. He yells, does he even know what he's doing right now? Joseph yells that he knows it all too well. He is trying to get compensation for the ruby necklace. Callie is about to blow a nerve. Compensation, he says. He remembers the day he used his fists to kill someone, and it feels as if that day is going to be repeated today. Joseph still tries to act tough, calling him a fucking slave before being punched in the face. It looks like he'll be getting that free nose job and dental makeover after all. Callie wonders what he is talking about as compensation. He grabs him by the hair and starts drowning him in the lake. He lets him breathe. Joseph cries, asking Callie to save him. Callie asks if he's sober. Does he really think that the world belongs to him only because he's a noble? Does he think he can live as he wishes? Azalea tells him to stop. He drags Joseph out of the pond, and Joseph asks for his forgiveness. He was wrong. Callie hopes that he got a good lesson out of it. He then turns to Azalea, asking if she's okay. With tears in her eyes and realization dawning on her, she knows that Callie has just earned himself a death sentence. The man belongs to Joseph's family. He needs to run away, but it's too late. Guards have arrived, telling them to stay away from their master. Callie tells her that this is too late. This is the end of the road for him. Joseph orders the guards to arrest that son of a gun, or even better, kill him, for for the humiliation he's faced at his hands. He is back in his cell, waiting for the promised match to happen. A guard tells him that this will be his waiting room, and perhaps the last room he stays in. He knows that he tried to protect his lady. He has got loyalty, if anything, and the guard promises to cheer for him till his last breath. The door creaks closed, shutting off light and plunging him into darkness. The door opens again after a few moments. Mantis, the instructor, and Torres have arrived. Kalai is surprised to see the trio here. Mantis has tears pooling around his eyes. Kalai wonders if he is seriously crying. He starts breaking down, telling Kalai that he is thankful for the help and for the tips he gave him last time. That trashy noble truly deserved it. So why is he the one being punished? Torres tells Kalai that at first he hated him for being whiny, but now he is a decent guy. His eyes focus on Kalai, and he tells him not to die. The instructor gives him a bowl of porridge and meat stew. He'll need it, and all the strength he can get for the fight. The instructor tells Kalai that the facing ogre is beyond his skill set right now. It is beyond his pay grade, and the only flaw ogre has is that he has no techniques whatsoever, only brute strength. He turns to leave remorsefully, wishing him luck. As the door creaks closed, Kalai remembers dying all alone in his last life. The cold bite of steel was the last mistress he had before death took him. At least in this life, he has people who will mourn his death, and that's good enough for him. High heels echo through the cellar. Kalai looks up in surprise. Azalea has arrived, a troubled expression written all over her face. He wonders why a ladyship is over here. She tells Kalai that she is not someone who turns a blind eye to her benefactor. Kalai smiles, telling her to worry about herself before him. She has been kidnapped by bandits and involved with a perverted freak. It looks like she has the worst luck in existence. Azalea whispers that if he is so worried, then why doesn't he keep protecting her from now on? She leans closer, and his eyes widen. She kisses him out of the blue. Kalai wonders what just happened. She screams that she doesn't know, and she doesn't know what will happen. She breaks down, tears spilling from her eyes, drenching the hard pavement below her knees. She asks Kalai to swear like he did last time, swear that he will win. He looks at her face, a complete mess, red and wet from tears. Kalai tries to reassure her that it makes it difficult for him to die like that. He'll be sure to guard her until she matures a little. She smiles and turns to leave. Doraemon tells Ogre that it is his time to shine. It's the execution match, so he can go wild. No ropes. He can go berserk and kill him as viciously as he wants. Ogre takes a bite of raw steak. He then throws away his steak and gets ready to end Kalai's existence. Finally, the highlight of the festival is here. Ogre stands before the crowd, every muscle gleaming in the sunlight and rippling with bulging veins. Against him, Kalai looks like an infant. The crowd goes wild, asking Ogre to rip him apart, limb for limb, show the freaking criminal the laws of this land, execute him to the best of his ability. Ogre grits his teeth, steam rising from the side of his mouth. He yells at the top of his lungs, and Kalai remarks how noisy it is. He looks at the hulking titan, calling him stupidly large. He quickly puts on his bandages and gets ready to throw hands or die trying. He gets into his stance and throws a punch at Ogre, hitting him with a liver punch, but it does little damage and is more like a mosquito bite. Ogre looks at him in annoyance before swinging his massive fist. Kalai manages to sidestep out of the way. It feels as if his hits are not working, and if he gets hit by Ogre even once, it's game over for him. Ogre swings his fist again, sending a curtain of dust towards him. Kalai can't believe that he can raise a tornado with a single punch. Just what kind of muscles are those? Ogre unintelligently yells, "You kill." It looks like he maxed out on strength stats and left intelligence at 0, the complete opposite of what Stephen Hawking did. Kalai smiles, realizing that the world is fair at least. While he has the body of a Greek god, he has the intelligence of a 3-year-old. Kalai knows that his physique is overwhelming, and to overcome their weakness, humans have always relied on wisdom and tools. He imagines a caveman facing a 300-pound saber-toothed lion, taking it down with a spear. He then remembers a kung fu master, taking down an opponent twice his size with a chokehold. That's why humans have created techniques, and that's how he will show this ogre what an indomitable human spirit really is. They used to fight against opponents stronger than themselves. Kali takes a step forward, looking at Ogre. The crowd goes silent, wondering if he's insane, if he has given up, if he's crazy in the head. Even Mantis and Torres are second-guessing Kali's life choices. Doraemon wonders if he's given up, raising an eyebrow and telling everyone that it looks like he's walking to his death. But the look in his eyes is enough to tell anyone that that is not his option today. The ogre looks at the defiance in his eyes before swinging his powerful fist. Kali manages to dodge it, asking Ogre why he doesn't keep on punching. He's too slow for a big oaf. He realizes that one one mistake, and he's done for. A single hit with that cinder block of a fist will end his entire career and his life. He also notices what godly speed he has for a physique like that. Ogre continues to unleash a barrage of punches while he dodges each one with surgical precision. Truly sad for so much potential to go to waste. The Duke looks at him in sadness. His courage, his technique, they're all next level, and they're being wasted. He could have been the turning point for boxers. The ogre swings his fist again, and Callie crouches, dodging it and waiting to make a critical hit. He realizes he needs to accumulate damage. He chooses the spot he punched earlier as his checkpoint. He hits him with another liver punch, then another one, then another one. The ogre screams that he is a freaking rat. Callie wants him to rage. After all, rage beating him makes him easier to dodge. Callie hits him with another punch while dodging. The crowd is speechless, and Duke realizes that his boxing is on a whole new level, superior to the current boxing techniques. It's the revolution he's been waiting for, his entire life. The ogre yells in his rage, telling him to stop running. Ogre smash. Callie also sees a bruise forming around his liver, the spot he's been punching since the start of the fight. He swings his fist once again, but Callie is ready for it. He hits the spot with the side of his fist. For the first time in his life, Ogre screams in pain, his eyes and pupils returning from his berserker state. This is a technique that has not existed here to hit with the side of the fist. It has a powerful force behind it, and is also unpredictable. The ogre freezes, trembling in disbelief. Callie smiles with satisfaction. This technique could work only against a dumb opponent. Doraemon gets out of his seat, yelling at Ogre not to give up. How can his undefeated champion fumble? Mantis and Torres are speechless, remembering that Callie is always that kind of guy. To exceed everyone's expectations from the moment he fought Slit, then the moment he fought Mantis and everyone, he has created variables for everyone. Torres smiles, nudging Mantis to cheer for their bro. He might end up winning. Callie's strategy to defeat Ogre has been to accumulate damage and fatigue. Unlike his usual technique of targeting the brain or throat with a sky uppercut, it's common sense that the bigger they are, the easier they fall and the easier they get tired. They'll soon lose oxygen in their blood. Ogre rages again. He unleashes a devastating blow towards Callie, who dodges it in the nick of time. It looks like Callie has miscalculated what an absolute beast Ogre is, to have so much strength even after the devastating blow he just received. In an attempt to tire him out, it looks like Callie has tired himself out first. The ogre zooms towards him, ready to smash him into a pancake. Callie realizes this is bad. He swings his fist again, and Callie dodges it. He's running out of breath and space. He looks at a fist, zooming towards him at breakneck speed. This time, he can't dodge. The only thing he can do is put up his arms. A loud crunch echoes through the stadium as Callie soars through the air. He collapses and looks at his trembling arms. If he hadn't moved backward, his arms would have shattered. Right now, they're injured, but not shattered. He looks at Ogre thrashing around, but all of a sudden he stumbles. His face turns pale, and his vision turns blurry. Ogre wonders what the hell is happening. He grabs his head in frustration and pain, and Callie realizes this is the moment he's been waiting for. This is the first time for Ogre to have such a long fight. He usually ends his fights with a single blow, and that's why he moves so actively. He remembers the first fight he had at this festival. Since he finished all of them with a single move, in this fight he has tired himself out. Callie smirks, realizing that this is the day a god bleeds, a titan falls, and the ogre is seen as a human too. The ogre grabs his head in frustration, anger, and confusion. His time is over, and this is the last chance Callie will have to finish him off. The ogre tries to swing his fist weakly. It looks like he is tired as hell, and Callie crouches below. He has to bet all he has got on this final blow. He grabs his fist and hits the ogre in the throat. Ogre's eyes are about to pop out of their sockets. Spittle flies everywhere. Callie looks at his fist, realizing that he is out of the game, but his chin is down. This is his final chance to strike while the iron is hot. He leans closer with his other fist, telling the ogre to clench his door nice and tight. He punches him across the face, sending him flying and dodging a counter. He then attacks the ogre again, karate chopping his neck. At this time, his wrist is fractured. Just one more time. He prays to the gods above to lend him strength just this once, as he slams his wrist into the ogre's neck. Foam forms around the ogre's mouth as he collapses on his knees, face planting into the ground. Callie looks at the ogre, and the crowd is in a stunned silence. They can't believe that the undefeated champion is lying on the ground in front of Callie. Candace and Torres celebrate their brother's victory. Callie feels bad for Ogre. If only he knew how to box properly, he would have lost. No questions asked. The ogre should blame the Baron for not teaching him how to distribute his stamina properly. All of a sudden, the ogre's hand twitches. Torres's eyes widen in horror and realization. Callie is visibly shaken in disbelief, wondering what kind of monster he has been teamed up against. The ogre gets up slowly, sluggishly, bruises covering his body. He rushes in a fit of rage towards Callie. Callie curses, realizing that the gods must be having an amazing show at his expense. He is kicked in the chest and is sent flying through the air. As he slams into the ground and spits blood, the crowd is visibly shaken, their opinion divided. That's a foul, but it's an execution match, so everything goes. Callie curses because it hurts. His whole body screams in pain. His wrist is shattered. His stamina is depleted, and this bastard just refuses to stay down. But can he move like this after a beating he just received? Callie looks at his chest, and it's starting to bruise. He is then punched in the arm and sent flying again. The ogre smiles sadistically.
The ogre grabs Callie as if he were a stray puppy. Callie struggles in his grasp as the ogre wraps his arms around his ribcage, giving him the hug he never got from his daddy. Screams echo through the stadium as the ogre starts crushing his ribs. As Callie's face turns red, he calls the ogre a fudger. In desperation, he grabs the ogre's hair, leans closer, and the ogre's eyes widen in surprise and horror. He screams in pain, clutching the left side of his face, and lets go of Callie. Callie rolls off to a pillar and shoots something out of his mouth. The crowd stares in stunned silence. It turns out he pulled a Mike Tyson move by biting the ogre's freaking ear off. They can't believe who's tougher, the 9-foot hulking giant who crushes men as a hobby, or the scrawny little fighter who refuses to go down and bites someone's ear off. Callie gets up unsteadily, telling the ogre that it looks like he bleeds red instead of gold. He grits his teeth in frustration, anger, and excitement, grabbing a fistful of dirt. The ogre looks at Callie in disbelief. Never in his life has he fought without an ear. He rampages, rushing toward Callie, yelling that he will kill him. But Callie has something else up his sleeve. He grabs a fistful of dirt and throws it into the ogre's eyes. The ogre reels back in fury, his eyes burning from the sand. In that moment of desperation, Callie acknowledges that the ogre really is the strongest, but his techniques are non-existent. He grabs the ogre's elbow and shoves it into his back. The ogre crouches, forced to kneel, and throws a punch at Callie, who dodges and parries with his own arm. It feels as if every bone in his body is creaking like a 1980s Volkswagen. His insides feel like mush, but it's not painful. He feels alive and grabs the ogre's head again, giving him a free nose job with his knee. He continues to kick the ogre repeatedly, even throwing in a free dental makeover. The ogre screams in pain. This fight is no longer between a child and a man, but between a beast and a human. The Duke looks on in disbelief. It seems like a fight between two beasts, primal, barbaric, and brutal. He notices the crowd cheering for Callie over and over again. Callie has won their hearts with his impossible comeback, and they scream for him to win. The ogre stumbles as Callie punches him relentlessly. A single thought flashes through the ogre's mind. He's going to lose. Callie finishes with a sky uppercut, throwing everything he has into the punch. The ogre stutters, claiming he wins, but then slumps to the ground with a loud crash, leaving Callie breathless and dazed. He raises a trembling arm, signaling his victory over the impossible giant, the unbeaten titan. The crowd roars in disbelief and excitement. Duke Doryman has lost all color on his face, and his friend Count Joseph looks ready to blow a nerve. Mantis is on the verge of crying, and Torres is yelling his bro's name in excitement. Callie stands there, weary yet unbroken. From the corner of his eye, he notices something. Footsteps echo through the stadium as voices demand he stop, announcing that the execution will now proceed. A group of guards from Count Joseph's family surrounds him. Judging by their emblem, they won't let him walk away scot-free. Callie looks down, saddened. It seems like the end. Suddenly, pebbles rain all around them, clanging against their armor. The guards look around in disbelief. The crowd is yelling for Callie to live, calling the guards dirty bastards. Callie's display of indomitable spirit has won the crowd, and they will not let him die. The guards are at a loss. Should they follow orders or heed the angry mob? The Count grits his teeth in anger. Duke calmly states they must let Callie live. The Harvest Festival is meant to win over the citizens. Their hearts are with Callie, and killing him would make the festival meaningless. He hopes the Earl will understand. The Earl closes his eyes in anger, trying not to lose control. He can't create political problems against the Duke. He tells his son they are leaving, but vows not to forgive Baron August for making a fool of them. The young noble is still fuming. Thus, the epic battle between Callie and the ogre comes to an end, with Callie victorious against all odds. The doctor tells the instructor that it's a miracle he's still breathing with a body like that. All he can say is that the boy has guts. Callie lies there, his breathing labored, with his leg and arm in splints. Bandages cover him from head to toe. The instructor pleads with the doctor to save him, but the doctor says that if he is to be hospitalized, they need to pay up. The instructor curses their master. He is so afraid of angering the Earl that he isn't even paying his slaves' hospital fees. A voice tells the instructor to use this to pay. His eyes dart to Azalea, who is taking off her earrings. She asks if this is enough. The doctor smiles greedily and promises to do his best. It turns out the healthcare system is cooked no matter what world they live in. It's even more cooked in America over here because a single hospitalization costs a ruby. Callie coughs violently and turns to Azalea, asking how it went down. She reveals that the execution has been repealed because the audience didn't want him dead. He smiles. Azalea tells him he has earned his victory in his life, and she's glad he's alive. He's exhausted, but grateful to still be breathing. A week passes. Mantis pulls up to his bro, teasing him for being the main character of the festival, the great ogre slayer Callie. Callie looks embarrassed and wonders who came up with that nickname, some edgelord or something. Mantis grins and says the crowd started calling him that. Taurus tells him to stay down and jokes that he's jealous Callie gets to lie in a carriage while being carried. Callie scrunches his nose, wondering if he's about to die. The doctors have high hopes that his bones will heal, but his ligament damage is worse than expected. He looks at his bruised and broken body in despair. He overhears the Baron talking to a guard. His shin is the main issue. The ogre really did a number on him. Thankfully, Azalea and the instructor convince the master not to kick him out. The master looks at Callie and storms away in fury. This fat oaf still has the audacity to hate him after he saved his daughter. Callie realizes he'll be treated worse than ever. The journey back from the Duke's territory is hard yet peaceful. They finally return home. 3 months pass and winter arrives. The master bangs his fist on the table, yelling that he has waited 3 months and needs to know Callie's condition. The instructor looks away in embarrassment. The master demands to know why he's still like this. Callie arrives, limping with a cane under his arm. The master asks if he'll ever heal completely. The doctor says his bones won't fully recover. They healed improperly because of a growth spurt. The instructor knows this but doesn't want to say it openly. Callie will limp for the rest of his life. The master turns to Callie and demands explanation. Callie tells the lump of sentient ham that his leg will never be the same again. The master explodes, yelling that it doesn't matter if he's the ogre slayer. Now he'll just be a wheelchair rider and useless. It's winter. Merchants aren't coming. They're low on firewood and food. He blames Callie for everything, saying he shouldn't have angered the Joseph family and should have died against the ogre. The brain-dead fat oaf doesn't realize that if Callie hadn't acted, his daughter would have been traumatized for life. The instructor steps in, desperate to stop Callie from being killed or kicked out. He says Callie can't continue as a boxer, but with his skills, he could become an instructor. Callie barges in, saying he doesn't want that. With his wings gone, he'd rather die than live without flight. When Mantis hears this, he wonders if his bro is insane. Callie rejected an instructor position. In a bad mood, Callie tells him to shut it. It's his choice. Mantis tries to reason with him, saying the best path for a retired boxer is to become an instructor. The instructor offered it because he saw himself in Callie. Callie remembers the instructor saying he wouldn't wait until summer. He looks at his limp. He isn't sure he can box again. He wishes he could have fought longer. Mantis asks if the ogre hit his head too hard. Callie tells him to shut up and worry about himself. Mantis is on cloud 9 with 7 victories, gaining confidence every day. Even Taurus thinks Callie is crazy for angering the master. Callie snaps back that he'll be hated no matter what, so why care about that fat off his feelings? He was thrown under the bus first. For 3 months, Callie was bedridden while his brothers won matches and gained fame. Stan being left behind. In his last life, he suffered a similar injury that put his boxing career on hold after a fight with a gangster. Now he has a leg injury that feels the same. If he can't fight, then none of this has meaning. They put the firewood he chopped into a carriage. Thanks to him, they'll be warm this winter. He just smiles. He's doing it because he wants to. They also notice that he's grown taller and more muscular. He wonders if it's all the wood chopping he's been doing as rehab. One of the brain-dead slaves whispers that if only his leg wasn't. His bro elbows him to make him more conscious of what he's saying. Callie looks away in sadness, telling them it will heal soon. He turns to leave as it's getting cold. He needs to get back home. In his room, he slams his fist against the bars of his window. He tries to calm down. He has experience and knowledge that no other fighter in this world possesses, but it's still impossible to run the fade with a lug like that. And with medical technology only a little more advanced than putting a band-aid on a wound, it's impossible to heal completely. Azali arrives, wondering why he's banging the door when he should be banging her. He wonders why she's in his room. She smiles and leans closer. Who decided she can't be here? After the stunt she pulled in the cellar by kissing him out of the blue, he can't look her in the eyes. She smirks and tells Callie she's here to say goodbye. Callie's eyes widen in surprise. Where is she going? He hopes she's not being sent into another arranged marriage. Azali explains that the territory is in dire straits, even worse than Venezuela. The market has stopped dropping by their territory thanks to the Joseph family. All the merchants are too scared to enter or have contact with them. With the weather getting colder every day, the cost of living keeps rising. Even firewood is a luxury. At this rate, they won't make it through winter. Callie knew things were bad, but he never thought they were this bad. If only they had discovered oil on their estate, maybe the USA would have helped them by bringing democracy. Azali says that if merchants won't come, they'll become merchants themselves. She has decided to personally lead a merchant guild. Callie wonders if their master is joining her as well. Azali holds her head in frustration. Her father is as useless as Sakura. He's a living corpse, too scared to even go to the bathroom in case Earl Joseph gets him. But she decides her own fate. She would rather die than lose to that smug noble family. Without power, justice means nothing. Callie realizes he's looking at a mature woman, not a teenager. Azali looks away, longing for a world where her family had power, where things wouldn't have turned out this way, and Callie wouldn't have hurt his leg so badly. Callie tells her he chose this fate and was prepared for it. Azali gets up. She's heard of someone who can revive a dying person. With a merchant guild behind her, she might get more information. She vows that his leg will be healed no matter what. Callie is taken aback. No one worried about him in his past life, but here this baddie is promising to fix his leg. He tells her there's no need to help a slave, but she gently grabs his shoulder. He saved her life twice, and unlike her father, she isn't thankless. She'll definitely get his leg fixed. He watches her leave the territory. A girl barely in her 20s is doing so much to regain her footing in the world, and here he is moping around. He clenches his fist. The next few days are spent in the forest. A voice calls out to Callie, asking if he's a boxer. Callie replies that he's here for rehab training. They're glad to have more hands on deck, even if it's just rehab. Callie knows he can't box in his current state. All he can do is swing his axe and not think about it. He continues chopping wood, knowing that if he stops now, all his life's work will amount to nothing. Suddenly, the axe gets stuck in a tree trunk. One of the lumberjacks smiles. It's not about the power behind the axe, but the skill with which it's used. He gracefully swings the axe, stunning Callie and cutting through the tree. He explains that it's skill, not power. Callie continues cutting trees until it starts to get dark. He realizes this works his back and waist muscles. One of the lumberjacks hurries him along, saying it's time to leave. They've spotted bare footprints. It must have come down to hunt. They look at the tracks. Judging by the size, it's a younger one without a mother. They need to get out of there. The lumberjack looks at Callie, wondering who the kid with the limp is. Since when did they have diversity hires? The chief tells them he's a former boxing slave. He's Callie, the Ogre Slayer. The lumberjack starts fangirling over Callie, calling him Ogre Slayer. His son was there to watch the match. It was epic. With him around, they won't have to worry about a bear. Callie shakes with cringe. He just wants them to forget that nickname. A lone Cadillac lights up his dorm. Callie wonders about all the talk of learning techniques. The Great Boar of August is really here, asking him for techniques. Torres tells him that he's not great or anything. Oh, he is about to pass out from exhaustion, and they still won't let him rest. He starts to reach for a glass on the table and accidentally knocks it over. Callie looks at the smashed glass and wonders what's wrong with Torres. Torres nervously says his body is out of control. He can't see properly at times. Callie throws him a pebble, telling him to try catching it. Surprisingly, Torres misses it by a long shot. Callie's eyes widen in surprise. He wonders if it's a case of retinal detachment and punk drunk syndrome, or just concussions, or just concussion. After all, Torres's fighting style involves getting hit as much as he hits back. Ultra ego? He tells Torres that if he gets hit in the head one more time, he would have to spend his life in the special division. Torres expected this outcome. That's why he wants to learn techniques to make up for his injuries. A first technique Callie shares is a defensive position to increase his area of defense by closing his body and crossing his arms. Right now, his sense of distance is not what it was, so he needs to block instead of dodging. Torres gets into position, and Callie tells him to account for his limited sight. It will be difficult to attack, so he needs to attack from the front and move his head and body out of the way. He also needs to twist his body and block, then hit, rather than get hit and then hit. Callie pauses and wonders about the brain damage Torres has been suffering. Wouldn't it be better for him to take a break? Torres disagrees. Taking a break is a joke. His schedule is packed because he is one of the few fighters this territory has. Everyone is injured, and he can't throw in the towel over a little injury. Callie can't believe what's happening. Isn't the instructor doing anything to stop their master in his recklessness? Is he really going to lose his best fighters and close the arena? Torres sighs. Apparently, the master won't even listen to the instructor. The only one with a brain is their leadership, and she's gone. At this rate, the training school will go bankrupt, and the entire territory will nosedive. Territory management is getting worse by the day. With harsh winter surrounding them, the dwarven couple ran away during the night. Being a harassment case, they will be welcomed in any territory they go to. But the ordinary slaves are destined either to survive or die. Their master never had a good relationship with their slaves. No wonder people are leaving. One of the lumberjacks looks around, wondering where Callie, the lad with the broken leg, is. It turns out he has completed his quota of firewood and is now training somewhere close by. They just need to call him over before they leave. Callie takes a deep breath and punches a tree stump as if it owes him a debt. He continues punching the stump over and over again. It's rather brute force, but if it works, he can make a comeback. He's going off something called Wolf's Law. Basically, when bones get damaged, calcium increases to make the bones denser and stronger. If he trains like this during his healing phase, it's possible to get a weapon-like physique, somewhat like the ogre. He continues punching the tree stump repeatedly. He needs to get stronger than before, using his back and waist. No matter the cost, he'll try to make the best out of his situation. Someone calls out to Callie, and he hears screams erupting from the campsite. One of them is trembling in the snow. They look at the dire wolf in horror, but it turns out it's lifeless, with a few pups suckling its warm body. They realize that the dire wolf is dead. The trembling lumberjack coughs in embarrassment. He's embarrassed about acting like a little girl. It's unfortunate what happened, and it looks like the bear roaming this territory is behind it. They look at the cubs suckling from their mother. It seems the she-wolf came back to her pups before dying. This is probably the last meal they'll get, and they can barely feed themselves. Callie notices a weak little pup whining and rubbing against his leg. He tells the pup not to do it. The others notice the pup liking him and warn Callie not to get too attached. Callie sees himself in the pup, weaker than the brood and destined to die because of lack of support. He knows he is desperate, but maybe it's fine. Mantis scratches the pup's belly, saying it's as cute as a button, but he'll get in trouble if the instructors find out he has pets. Callie tells Mantis that he's been giving the pup part of his own meal. It's not like he's taking more than what's provided in this crap hole of a territory. Just then, the instructor arrives. His face shows anger. He calls Callie a big-headed buffoon for bringing a wolf cub here. Does he think he's a free man? Does he think he's a white man in the suburbs who can afford to feed another mouth? He angrily grabs the pup, ready to throw it away. But when he looks at the pup with its tail between its legs, the cuteness overload makes his brain blue screen. Mantis and Callie realize their instructor has a soft spot for cuteness. Callie pushes his buttons, pretending to throw the pup away. The instructor tells him to stop. Maybe it's good. They'll have a guard dog at school. Mantis points out it's a wolf, not a dog. The instructor scoffs, telling them to make sure it doesn't bite humans. They should go to sleep, and Callie needs to help with construction work tomorrow. Callie remembers hearing that they'll get rid of the Great Hall. Their master's drive is really impressive. The instructor scratches his head. His drive and stubbornness are some of his positive traits, though always directed in the wrong way. Speaking of the master, he is alone at his loom, going crazy and wondering if it will succeed. The master has been drowning himself in alcohol after being surrounded by death, and he suddenly thinks of a good idea. He'll use a popular boxing match as bait to make connections with merchants and other nobles. He has few rising stars like Torres, Callie, and Mantis. Gesu. His fame for training the Ogre Slayer at their school is what attracts audiences to see free boxing matches. The instructor tells the master that inviting a wandering group for the tournament will cost too much. The master just ruffles his hair like a baboon, telling the instructor to cover the cost by collecting emergency fees and silverware from all the houses in his territory. The instructor can't believe what he's hearing. Not only is his master a brain-dead, stubborn mule, but now he's also a thief. The crowd would go wild, and the backlash would be huge. The master slams his glass against a pillar, yelling that that's a problem for him and his soldiers. He just needs to do his job. He tells the instructor to go away. They're going to revive the territory one way or another, and they'll have to handle a few losses. The instructor realizes he can't talk him into sense. About 10 days later, luxurious carriages pull up in front of his mansion. For the first time in a decade, a guest territory is filled with visitors. A free boxing match has attracted everyone's attention. No one would decline the offer. Everyone watches the match underway. The Kataran boxing group is really skilled. They're not slaves, but professionals. Both Callie and Torres watch the matches intensely. A voice calls out to Callie, wondering if he's the famous Ogre Slayer. Callie tells the newcomer that he's not famous, but he is indeed Callie. Are you the new slave? A guy who looks like every white girl's wet dream introduces himself. He is Shram of the South, a seafarer. Callie points out that he doesn't look like someone who lives at sea. The boy explains that his ship was wrecked and he was caught by slave traders. Now he's going to earn his freedom and return to his hometown. But whenever he asks who is the strongest, Callie's name comes up. The boy tries to provoke Callie, wondering if the rumors are true because he looks as strong as a rat on steroids, and he also has a limp. Callie doesn't give in to this rage-baiting playboy. If he's an apprentice, he should focus on training. The boy reaches out to shake hands, secretly wanting to crush Callie's hand to assert dominance. But what he doesn't know is that Callie has been punching trees for a living, even though the boy has handled ropes and sails for 5 years. In terms of grip strength, the boy is utterly defeated and humiliated. Callie tells him it looks like he needs to rest. Torres also tells the newbie to get lost. Everyone thinks they're the new champions in this place. If they were half as talented as Callie and had seen him fight, they wouldn't be saying stuff like that. Callie also tells him that if he wants to become free, he needs to pay attention to the matches and learn. The ones he'll have to face are these guys. Mantis stands in front of a blondie who's trying his best, but it's not enough. Mantis is in the zone, with overwhelming presence and a long reach. He continues to beat the stuffing out of his opponent. The blondie wonders how he can get hit at such a distance. The Mantis bastard has been doing this a lot lately. He's confident, has not lost to anyone, and doesn't even get hit. Mantis unleashes a barrage of punches. The blondie tries to close the distance, yelling that he won't hold back anymore, only to be socked in the jaw. Callie realizes his approach is right, but his technique needs refinement. It would have been better to wait until his opponent was tired. Mantis gives Torres a fist bump, telling him to go get them. Torres stretches his muscles and his vision blurs. He realizes the matches are starting again. His boxing career is at risk if he keeps getting hit in the head, but there's no guarantee that Callie's technique will work. He decides to use his normal methods for now. The man just smiles, blocks the attack, and hits Torres in the face. They say he'll keep fighting no matter how many hits he takes. His title is the Boar of August. It really suits him, but the opponent just smiles. Today, the boar will be hunted by his spear. Torres unleashes a devastating blow, but the opponent dodges it. In that split-second opening, he hits back with a devastating punch, knocking Taurus to the ground and causing everyone to gasp in surprise because he's using the Wistry style, a technique that is gaining fame lately. Even Taurus is troubled by the style this new opponent is using. Callie realizes that the technique voids upper body movement. He knows for certain that they were referencing him. It turns out that Duke Whistly created a new fist-fighting technique, and the boxers tried it out after the Harvest Festival. It is known as the Whistly style. It's not a traditional technique, but rather a knockout style that uses skill and evasion. Most people think of it as the Duke's masterpiece, but Callie knows all too well that it mirrors the movements he used against his opponents at the Harvest Festival. Anyone with basic knowledge of boxing should know that Callie is at the center of this new style. Taurus skids to a halt and curses. He wasn't expecting to be hit in the head so hard. He feels as if he's watching someone familiar fight, but who? He can't put his finger on it. The opponent evades each one of Taurus's blows, asking if he has heard of the Whistly style. He knows they wouldn't have. Taurus realizes things are getting serious and decides to use a new technique as well. He gets up, promising to show him something fun in return. He is determined not to let anything stop him from winning. The opponent jabs and Taurus manages to dodge it. He dodges another blow, and by the third, his opponent grows impatient. He punches with all his might, and instead of dodging, Taurus blocks it. He then uses his legs to generate momentum his opponent has never seen before. He doesn't push back when he breaks off. He even exposes his sides. But if the opponent approaches using Whistly style, it will be the end of him. Taurus rushes toward his opponent and throws a jab at his face. The opponent avoids it, pointing out that Taurus is really slow. What he doesn't know is that it was a feint. Taurus uses impeccable footwork and changes his center of gravity to punch with his other arm. The opponent wasn't expecting him to shift his center of gravity to accelerate. He tries to stop it, but Taurus breaks through his defense. He then unleashes a devastating final blow that brings the match to a bitter end. The crowd goes wild, cheering for Taurus. Style. Callie is still troubled by the Whistly style. They didn't work on Taurus's footwork as part of the training, but it looks like he's as talented as Muhammad Ali. He's a natural at shifting his center. Maybe it's because he was taught about guard posture. After the boxing match ends successfully, the Baron flashes a smile he hasn't shown in a while. He laughs gleefully, telling Count Joseph to stick it. He would never fail because he's a genius. Each noble promises to support the Baron again. He remembers their praises, saying they had a lovely time and would love to visit again. Even though he is burned through his last funds, he thinks the estate will live again. Sadly, the VIP who attended the match never contact him again. The Baron is furious when he hears from the maid that there was no reply. It turns out the nobles only gave him lip service, all bark and no bite. They had no intention of helping him. He slams the wine bottle in anger, cursing them after they enjoyed the free boxing match. He even had the mansion fixed for them. Now all he can do is spend his days drowning in alcohol. A few weeks later, in a small wooden shed in Chief Lumber, Callie is eating a granola bar, wondering what the future holds for them. He remembers acting like a dictator by ordering his men to carry firewood to fix the mansion. The door creaks open, and Callie arrives with the little wolf pup following him. He's back from training, and the wolf pup is much bigger than before. The chief knows it's ironic, but Callie should take a break. Callie says he's doing it because he needs to. The chief looks at the wolf cub and says it has grown a lot. Does it have a name? Callie has decided to name it Robo, even though it looks more like a fox than a wolf. The chief tells him to come back after training. Callie walks into a clearing in the forest, but something ominous looms in the distance. Something large with glowing eyes and piercing fang. Callie feels something is off before he sees it. Every hair on his body stands on end. A frail bear walks out of the clearing, hunger driving it to the point of insanity. Callie realizes that it is going crazy. It looks skinny and not even fully grown. Though it is weaker than a full-grown bear, it is still a freaking bear, and it is impossible to run away with his legs. Little Robo starts barking at the bear, showing more gall than his master. Callie realizes that he needs to be like his dire wolf. He needs to grab his axe and run the fade. The bear roars and Callie smirks, realizing that weapons are useless right now. He squares up, his spiritual animal being Mike Tyson. He realizes that if he cannot trust his fists, then who can he trust? The bear lunges, its talons outstretched. The first swipe brings down a full tree, and Callie does all he can to dodge. He throws a jab at the bear's nose, punching the living snot and blood out of its snout. Robo continues to be the ultimate hype man, barking at the monster to run the fade and become a legend. Callie throws another punch at the bear. The bear swipes, and Callie manages to dodge it by the breadth of a hair. Its chest is still slashed, but the wound is shallow. The bear snarls, lunging at Callie, and Callie roars in response, refusing to back down. The chief is still snoring in his cabin. He does not know that his best man is running the fade with a freaking bear. He gets up when someone knocks on his door. He grabs his axe and wonders if it is Callie. He slams open the door and looks at Callie in horror. He is bruised, bloody, and yet still breathing. Callie wonders why he was so late to open the door. He is tired as hell. The chief wonders what is going on and what is up with the wounds. Callie just gestures, telling him to turn on the grill. They will be eating well tonight. He leads the chief toward the bear's corpse. They cannot believe that the bear was beaten by a rookie. The news that Callie had fought the bear and killed it spreads quickly. Even though it was not a full-grown bear and was thin and frail, it was still a bear. The other lumberjacks wonder if Callie was raised on wolf milk and has Russian genes in him. Some of them think it is an exaggeration, and some believe it without a doubt. As winter draws to a close, the trees show clear signs of being abused by human fists. The harsh winter is past and the city is finally full of vitality. The gates open slowly and everyone cheers for the ladyship to arrive. Multiple carriages ride into the city. There is salt, wool, and all types of luxuries. Azalea arrives looking as beautiful as the day she left. She looks around, wondering where her loser of a father is. The knight says that he is in the mansion, and Azalea calls him mean. She has been back for less than 5 minutes, and she is already disappointed in his life choices. She then looks at a little boy resembling Callie. Seeing the little boy brings a smile to her face. She looks at the man, wondering if he is paying child support and if he is doing well. Callie smiles while petting Robo and giving him kibble. He is glad that the lady has returned, and the slave tells him that it is impressive to lead everyone to the top alone. They are having a party at the mansion, and they will also have barbecue for a change. It has been a while since they had bear meat. Robo's eyes perk up at the mention of meat. Callie tells the little pup that he cannot come to the mansion. He apologizes and promises to bring him a share. Urpso is not pleased at all. Later, Callie is stuffing his face with meat before a guard rudely interrupts him, saying that the lady is calling for him. He arrives in the royal chambers, and the master side-eyes Callie, wondering if he is really here. Rosalie, on the other hand, smiles with dewy eyes. She tells Callie that it has been a long time. With a slight blush on her face, she asks about his leg. He wonders which leg she is talking about. If she means the injured one, it is still the same. He is adapted, but he cannot box. Rosalie looks away. She talks about how she led the top team so far. It has been difficult because of Count Joseph and his interference. The master fumes, calling him worse than a worthless bird. It looks like even his trash talk needs work. She then went to the Empire, an empire unaffected by Count Joseph's influence. They were able to get a lot of goods there. The master smiles, calling himself lucky to have a daughter like her. Callie heard that it is a military empire that worships power above everything else. They say that the kingdom shares many customs and language traits with the empire. Rosalie says that she heard an interesting story there, a story that Callie might find interesting. Callie's eyes widen in surprise as she recounts hearing about a famous doctor from the empire, the imperial family's chief physician. He is called a divine doctor who can reattach severed limbs and arms. The master is surprised that someone in this world can reattach arms. If only someone could boost his IQ as well. Still, he is unsure whether the imperial doctor would treat an ordinary commoner. Rosalie says it is possible if she requested. She has connections with people from the imperial family. In the empire, everyone values combat power, so injured fighters are welcome there. She plans to take Callie with her. The master picks up Azalea, calling her his bundle of luck. Callie, on the other hand, still cannot believe what he is hearing. Will he really be able to box again? Can he truly be treated in this backwater world? He asks Azalea all these questions and she smiles with the brilliance of 1,000 suns. Did she not say that she would find him a way to walk again? However, she turns away sadly. A mere provincial noble's daughter is not likely to be taken seriously by the imperial family. Callie does not know the conditions behind her arrangement. Later, the new apprentices are running laps just as Callie and the others did in the early days. He looks at them, wondering if his leg can really be fixed. The instructor wonders who he thinks will be okay this time. The apprenticeship test is just around the corner, and he wonders who will show the most promise. Callie looks at a guy named Takayan and another named Shram. Takayan is a flexible and agile fellow, kind of like a leopard, while Shram is as strong as a bull and determined to achieve what he desires. He is willing to return home no matter what. Callie looks at them, longing for that kind of motivation. The instructor feels sorry for Callie, as he is completely lost in his own thoughts. Callie, on the other hand, cannot believe that his leg will be fixed. Even if they claim that it is a god who reattaches severed limbs, he feels there is exaggeration. In this medieval world, there are no surgeries and not even antibiotics. It is a miracle that he has lived so long. He curses himself for being weak and tries to pull himself together, as Azalea has put a lot of effort into helping him. Mantis wonders why he is crashing out and says that he is scaring Rope. Callie angrily asks what Mantis is doing in his room. Is he not supposed to train? Mantis says that the apprenticeship test is tomorrow, so they are supposed to rest today. Callie looks at Mantis, wondering why this simple-minded boy goes into the ring every day. What is the reason behind his fight? Mantis just starts snuggling Robo, making him uncomfortable, and tells Callie that he fights because he was told to fight. The next day, the apprenticeship test is about to start. This is where apprentices become official boxers by competing against professionals and gaining recognition from the coach. The test is more like a loose cannon event because only skilled apprentices get to pass and compete. The apprentices select the boxers they are about to fight by drawing lots. Mantis is paired with one of them. He makes a fool of his opponent by using his footwork and beating the stuffing out of him. Callie notices how skillful he has become. He is not the Mantis he once knew, and both his brothers are becoming stronger, while he just punches trees in the mountains. If only his leg were not permanently injured. He wants to prove them wrong and prove that he is still capable of fighting. Next, Shram is about to draw, but he walks past the instructor and comes up to Callie, wondering if he's just going to sit around because his leg is a bit uncomfortable. He grins and tells Callie that they should have a match to decide who is stronger. Shram calls out to Callie, asking if he is really going to avoid fighting just because his leg is a little scratched. He smirks and tells him to have a match, even calling him a lil bro. One of the instructors tells Shram to cut it out, but the head instructor stops him. He personally wants to see how Callie intends to fight with those legs. Since Callie refused to become an instructor, there is no way he is just trying to buy time. Callie slowly gets up, wondering why Shram chose him. Shram grimaces and says it is because he was embarrassed in that handshake match last time. He wants to see how much stronger he has gotten. Callie crosses his arms and tells him that if he is up for a fight, he is not against it. But he will need a leash. They get into the ring, and Shram wonders why Callie is wrapping cloth and leather belts around his fists. Callie asks Shram if he has trained his abdomen or abs at all. A murderous gleam shines in his eyes. This is not the look of a defeated and retired boxer, but of a wounded lion refusing to back down. Despite being hailed as the Ogre Slayer, Shram thinks this man relied on cheap tricks rather than strong punches, and with one leg injured, he is half-baked. Shram smiles and stomps on the ground, raising a smokescreen. Callie sees through the attack and deflects a blow, leaving Shram completely open. He then gets punched hard and coughs violently as Callie strikes his liver. Everyone watching the match is surprised. The punch is so strong that it creates a shockwave. Torres wonders when Callie became such a powerhouse and brawler. Callie waits for Shram to get up again. The instructor asks if he is all right. Shram feels humiliated. It feels as if his bones were put into a meat grinder. His body is supposed to be strong, so why did he crumple? He tells the instructor that it has just begun and he can still fight. Even though Callie wrapped his fist in cloth and leather, the punch was stronger than he anticipated. Callie compliments Shram for enduring it with willpower rather than muscle. Shram yells that it was not a lie about Callie killing a bear. He curses and wonders how he can lose to someone who cannot even use his legs. He got hit in his side and his legs are in shock. He cannot use his leg anymore. Callie smirks and says he just wanted to even the odds. Shram is sweating in his boots. It is the opposite of what he heard. The other fighters yell at him for being an idiot and ask why he is leaving himself so open. He quickly gets into stance and Callie squares. Pain shoots through Callie's injured leg, giving Shram an opening to slam into him and punch him across the face. Shram smiles, thinking that if he keeps punching like this, the fight will be over soon. However, he has severely underestimated Callie. With a fierce aura blazing around him, Callie delivers the finishing blow and knocks Shram several meters away. He is kind enough not to break his nose or knock out his teeth since he is still a kid. Later, while Shram is being treated, everyone consoles him. Even though Callie was not in prime condition and Shram's legs were injured, his opponent was still the Ogre Slayer. Shram yells that everyone deceived him. Callie would never use such force against a rookie. Another instructor pats him on the back and tells him not to get angry. Nobody lied. Callie has always been the type to win with tactics since last year. The instructor admits he has never seen Callie use such heavy methods before. It's something changed during last winter. He is becoming an ogre himself, a monster rather than a human. Torres arrives and tells Callie that he did not expect him to be so powerful. He never thought he would completely change his fighting style. Callie tells Torres that he also did not expect him to use evasive maneuvers. Torres used his strategy and is no longer just about void and strike, but has somehow grown stronger. Even with his legs injured, Callie is still finding creative ways to defeat anyone. This makes Torres' blood boil. He wants to enter the ring and see who is stronger. Callie tells him he was not boasting about making a comeback with those legs. There may be an opponent who will not fall for his methods, but he will think about that when the time comes. It is hard to box without using his legs. He can make up for his lack of power with his back muscles, and he can reduce the burden on his quads by using his knees and thighs. However, his power has limits when his footwork is lacking. With the apprentice test concluded, it is finally spring after a long season of suffering and rest. The merchants have left the territory and decided to make camp in a small clearing. Callie stands with Robo, and Robo starts barking at someone. A tall, stunning woman arrives, showing interest in Callie and wondering if he is their ladyship's favorite. She calls him handsome. Callie tries to play it cool, saying that due to his slave status, his face alone will not do him any good. She just smiles. She does not care if he is a slave or a free man. There is nothing wrong with getting familiar with a face they will be seeing for a long time. She introduces herself as Sally Van of the Mercenaries and says the others are her men. She also adds that they are not bad. Callie introduces himself and they shake hands. She says she has heard many rumors about him in the territory and asks if it is true that he killed a bear. They continue talking, but Callie wonders if she is only interested because he is alone. One of the merchants calls out to the captain, saying they need to set up camp quickly. Callie offers to help, but Sally Van tells him they have it under control. His leg must be uncomfortable, and he should rest. He looks around feeling useless as everyone busies themselves setting up camp. He breathes a sigh of relief when Eliza arrives and tells him that since everyone is concerned about his leg, he must feel bad accepting their help. Callie admits he feels like a bastard who cannot do anything. She tells him not to overthink it and asks him to follow her. Smiling warmly, she invites him to join her for a meal. As they eat, she asks why he fights. Is it for freedom? Callie says it is the same for all slaves. She asks him what he would choose between freedom and fixing his leg. Callie says he does not need freedom. What he wants is to prove he is the strongest. That is why he chooses to fix his leg. Later, they arrive at the city. The guard questions Robo, but Callie lies, claiming Robo is a harmless hybrid. The guard is convinced, and Sally bursts into laughter. Soon, the guards notice that the August family has arrived and prepare to inform the chief of guards. The city is lively, with clear rivers and a bustling harbor. The mood is light, and Azalea looks at a sheet of paper. paper. Sally is enjoying the smell of the sea while our boy is craving some sushi. A flyer smacks him in the face, and she wonders what it is about. Sally looks over his shoulder and asks if it is already time for the boxing tournament. Boxers are paid to fight, and when they compete, they get a huge cash prize. It is basically this world's underground boxing scene. She feels embarrassed, but she likes boxing, which is why she hangs around him. All of a sudden, Azalea and her group are surrounded by guards. The head guard smiles and introduces himself as Leonardo, a name too noble for his trashy existence. They have received a report that Azalea and her group are smuggling weapons, and she needs to come down to the station. She calls it absurd since they have already passed inspection. Leonardo reaches for his blade and tells her to come quietly. They grit their teeth in frustration and are escorted to the guard's reception room. The guard explains that the report is false and they know it, but Joseph and his family sent a letter to detain her no matter what. There is no choice. Azalea asks what it will take to leave the city and what he really wants. He smiles and asks for a 10,000 yen bribe. Her men are furious at the trashy dog asking for 10,000 yen. They would have to sell everything at a loss to get that amount, and traveling to the Empire is already expensive. Azalea wonders what she should do. She only has 5,000 yen. Callie realizes Joseph is still biting at their heels. Sally mutters that this might be the end of the caravan. Callie asks about the boxing tournament. The participation fee is 100 guilds and the prize is 8,000. Azalea immediately refuses. She says they cannot send someone who came for leg treatment into a tournament. Callie smashes the table to get their attention. He promised the master he would return by summer. This tournament will be his comeback. Azalea hesitates but finally agrees. If he fights, he has to win. Later, a bald man refuses to let Callie fight. Sally tells him the bald man is the arena tester. Furious, the bald man tells Callie to step into the ring. Everyone holds their breath, realizing that Callie is a limping son of a gun. Fat Baldy tells him that this place is for contestants, not for the disabled. Callie shows Baldy his ticket to prove that he is also a contestant. Baldy is on the verge of popping a vein. How dare he talk like he wants to throw hands when he can barely walk. He is about to teach him a lesson. Callie just cracks his neck. Sully One watches him with interest. Is he really the famous ogre slayer or just an ordinary guy? She wants to apologize for running away, but this is the only way she can see him in action. All he needs to do is win. 2 seconds later, everyone stands in stunned silence. Baldy is lying on his back and Callie is still standing. A bruise is forming around Baldy's liver. It looks like Callie's signature move is now a liver punch instead of a sky uppercut. He asks Baldy if he wants more. Later, Sully One recounts what happened and laughs. Her hunch was right, and it is the first time she has seen that kind of punch. Callie tells her it is easy because opponents lower their guard around him. She says it is also a skill to make good use of his condition. She decides to come back tomorrow afternoon. She also notices the strange aura around him. He does not look like an Orden Kashtolf, but someone out of this world. Now she understands why Azalea fell for him. The moon rises and Callie finally rests. Today was not easy. Maybe his size and strength helped him win, but it will be a problem if someone uses Whistly's style. If they exploit his lack of mobility, it will be difficult. The next afternoon, everyone draws lots to see who they will face. The crowd is full of sweaty, buff men. The stench is enough to make their girl nauseous. Callie looks at Azalea struggling to breathe, and she decides to leave before embarrassing herself. Callie gets number 4. The matches are random to ensure fairness. They must win 5 times in a row to face a top opponent. There is heavy gambling behind this event, which explains the large prizes. Callie's opponent is a pleasant-looking man with an athletic build. He is slightly taller than Callie, and they shake hands. Callie notices how soft his hands are. Sullivan says he looks easy to beat. She returns to her group and asks if they trust her. She is holding a bag full of money. It is their half-year salary. She decides to bet all of it on Callie, and there are mixed reactions. She reminds them that they are alive because they trusted her before. Slowly they agree. Azalea overhears them and wonders why they are so invested in Callie.